Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case.
Dati Anglican po yung servant lobby. Oh, for Trump's sake.
Good morning, good Monday morning. I do apologize, a little late this morning. Apparently, court started, so we're gonna back up a little bit, catch up on just a couple minutes that we missed. Get back up to live with y'all. But happy Monday morning. Good to have you here. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Good to have you all here with me. Fantastic weekend. Hopefully, all of you had one as well. I will say, if we have any birthdays, we might have to sing during the break. I don't know if we have any birthdays or not, but let's see. We'll try to figure that part out as we can, as we go. Because screw it, we're doing it live, right? Let's see. We've got one other. I think we have to properly recognize
subject matter jurisdiction.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Let's see if I can do that. Why does my device not want to connect? That makes it a little trickier. All right, we can still make this work. Everything. I apologize for being late. Actually I don't. I was doing something I enjoy. I was spending some time with my kids. It was cold last night. It was really cold. As a matter of fact.
Is Maya testifying today? Want to put out prayers of strength, courage, and love to her. Remember, she's a little girl still, and I don't know how she's staying so stoic throughout Purple Heart. God bless her.
Ella Cole, we'll put that on the screen here in just a minute. I'm trying to first get one thing on the screen, or else I will lose it forever. So just 1 second here. And then I'll answer your question as well. But the answer, I believe, is yes. So just 1 second. We have, okay, there we go. Switcher. Now we're cooking with fire. Okay, Mystic Mama, congratulations. You were first in chat, I think, today. Congratulations on being first in chat. I think you have won before. It's been a while, but you've won before. At least my recollection, I've got you down as a prior offender. So this will just be added to your existing record. Congratulations. All the internet is yours. You are the owner, once again, of everything IP related, and you're also required to maintain it. So thank you very much, Mystic Mama. Appreciate you being first in chat. Let's see. Ella Cole, is Maya testifying today? Yes, that's our belief. Prayers of strength, courage, and love to her. Remember, she's a little girl. Didn't know she was staying so stoic. How she's doing it. It's amazing. It really is. Jennifer Marie, welcome to the gallery. Good to have you as a new member. Thank you so much for joining us. That is awesome. Mystic Mama as well. Look at that. Yellow Courthouse. Thank you. You won on your Yellow Courthouse day. That is awesome. I think that's it. We need to jump to court. Right, so give me just 1 second. We're gonna jump to court. Since we're playing catch up just a tiny bit, we're going, I think, at 1.25 speed. Let me just double check and make sure that we're going 1.25, which will mean it'll take about an hour to catch up because we're like 15 minutes behind. I'm sorry. It's my fault. Okay, so let's see. I've got some audio working, but give me just a minute as I'm trying to get the video with. I need the objection counter.
This is case number 2018 CA5321NC, Jack Kowalski, et cetera, et al. Versus Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Starting with the plaintiff. Let's take appearances, please.
Greg Anderson, Nick Whitney on behalf of the Kowalski family.
Ethan Shapiro, Howard Hunter, Pat Crowells, David Hughes on behalf of the defense. We're also joined by Dr.
Okay, we're getting there. Let's cut to here.
And Mr. Altenburn, I promised you first up.
And we have made substantial progress this weekend. I sent you earlier this morning a copy that looks like you have on the bench at this point in time. So on the limiting instruction, we had essentially agreed on the language that was in the motion for that. The only thing that needs to be tinkered with is that when it was written, it was going to say last Friday, but it's more than last Friday at this point in time. So it's either earlier in the case or on Friday, September 29th. That's probably how you would begin that. obviously, if you have any alterations or changes you want to make to it, that's fine.
So Mr. Elliott agrees to the form of this instruction?
Yes, Your Honor, on the state of mind instruction.
So I'm just going to pull this one out.
Holly Mack, thank you. Some of the best 4 months of my life. That is awesome, Holly. Thank you for being here. It wouldn't be the same without you. Appreciate it. 4 months of support.
So what day did she
That's
testify?
Huge.
My recollection is it was Friday, September 29th. I checked that on the calendar.
Okay, we're going to have to sing the KX Star as soon as we get a break.
Friday, September 29th. There we go. So give that one. And you all are close on the next instruction?
Yes, the first paragraph that we have there, other than maybe trying to resolve this, that, or an A, which we've kind of moved around on, I actually have begun to think A in that sentence makes the most sense. But other than that, the first paragraph is fine. Originally, I had suggested a second sentence about what would happen at the end of the case. The other side didn't want that, and I could see why they didn't, so I basically have withdrawn that. They have suggested a couple of other things that would be a description of what the instructions might be at the end of the case. And I have essentially the same problem with those that they had with mine. I frankly think that just the first paragraph is what we ought to give.
When you say the second sentence, I assume you don't mean the sentence that starts, although I have determined?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, after the first paragraph, I had suggested a sentence that I have below in Arial that's, you will not be instructed at the end of the case that damages can be awarded to Ms. Kowalski for any stress created by her participation in this lawsuit. They didn't like that, and they suggested, however, plaintiff may recover damages for injuries sustained from an event such as the relapse of November 2010, even if primarily caused by litigation stress. If you find other sources of stress unrelated to litigation substantially caused or contributed to that stress. And I, too, did not like that sentence. It was later shortened to, and you will be instructed to claims for which stress is relevant in closing instructions. And at this point, I think the concurrent cause instructions will probably cover that. So I don't, frankly, see the need for any additional sentence in the instruction other than that first paragraph.
Mr. Elliott.
Your Honor, our concern is that, well, I guess I would just say first, as you know, we have a general preference not to have all these different instructions during the plaintiff's case, but I understand there's going to be an instruction on this, so then the question is what's the wording? And the concern we have with the first paragraph is it tells them, okay, it's not, it's relevant to issues, but then he's stressing the law. It leaves them kind of hanging, and that's why we came with the shorter version of, we'll tell you later. The court will tell you later. And in fact, I think you could do it even shorter than I had there if we looked at the sentence that says, although I have determined this evidence is relevant to issues in this case, if we just added that you will be instructed on later, comma, or
he's looking rather blue today.
Later, and then you come to any stress to the parties and you give them the general rule. I think the problem with the concurring cause instruction is it's not going, unless we craft something different, concurring cause instructions don't refer to stress. I mean, and there's a special instruction being given in the middle of the plaintiff's case on stress. So we just wanted to try to balance that out.
Okay, and so you're suggesting as yet another alternative is in the second sentence of the agreed to portion after in this case, just add what words?
That you will be instructed on later.
I have no objection to that addition.
There we go.
Yeah, I didn't think of that until I was looking at this again this morning when it came in. So, okay, I think we're good. And I don't, Mr. Altman's correct. We've gone back and forth on it because, the this and the that and the A lawsuit. I mean, whether we're talking about this one or the general one.
I wrote it as a generic statement of law rather than one specific to this to this case. So if we change it to this case, we're going to have to tinker with it maybe in 2 or 3 locations. I think it's better to have a general proposition of law there.
Okay, so are you okay with the word A as opposed to this or that?
I am.
Mr. Elliott?
I think so, Your Honor, yes.
There we go. Love it.
And we have exchanged a relatively complete set of instructions for the end that we're going to try to work on together through this week. So I think we're making good progress on that. I filed, but I don't think we need to discuss this morning, a memo trying to explain my thoughts on the Chapter 11 and the relevance of some of the things that relate to Chapter 39. So.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. So.
Well, it came in early this morning, so I'm not blaming you.
Clerk hasn't docketed it yet.
Pursuant to your preferences, I didn't file it at 9 o'clock last night. And that's all I have.
Okay, and so when you say that you and Mr. Elliott are well on the way on the actual jury instructions, and I assume it also includes the the verdict form?
Does not at this point include the verdict form. My personal preference is to start working on that sometime early next week. By that point, I think we'll have the instructions laid out enough to figure out what that entails. There's duplication of damages and complications in terms of how you do the order of that verdict form. And if we have special interrogatories on Chapter 39 issues, that will, I'm not quite sure where I put that, but I'll think about it.
Let's spend 3 minutes and talk for a moment about exhibits and a table of contents and what's going to be going to the jury, just so we can start thinking about that. I mean, I did send the order over the weekend thinking maybe we need to do like an Excel spreadsheet that lists those exhibits that are actually in, that we can print it out and then also have available for the jury in electronic format. But given the number of exhibits that are in this case, as well as the number of exhibits where only certain pages are given, it's going to take the clerk and the parties a long time trying to go through and make sure we've got everything. So I think the table of contents, but have you all started thinking about how we're going to do this?
I don't think we disagree that a table of contents is going to, some type of index is going to be necessary for the jury.
We have one that we're tracking on our side, and we can share it with them and work towards that goal.
It's just, I assume what I've been receiving is a Word table.
Yes.
I really think it needs to move over to an Excel spreadsheet given the length, because I think my experience with Word tables, once you get them too big, they tend to crash on you.
Yes.
There's no objection to that.
So that's why I think you probably need to move it over.
Please use the right software to
And
make
as for
your
the individual pages on
list.
larger ones, the court is okay with us referencing then base numbers on the bottom to the extent they're not. Well, I guess they're marked by number in most cases.
I think we should try to use the actual mark number. So like if it's 1032-087, I think that's the number we should use and try to be consistent throughout everything. Ms. Quarles.
Thank you.
Oh.
Were you finished? I do have something, but I didn't know if the court was ready.
Unless there's anything else on that particular issue, then yes, I'm finished with that.
Well, Judge, I wanted to address an issue with an exhibit that was admitted on Friday. The court may recall admitting 2608, which was the audio recording between Maya and her mom, and purported to be Kathy Beatty on the recording. And we have confirmed with Kathy Beatty. I listened to it again over the weekend and thought that is not Miss Beatty's voice. So I sent it to Miss Beatty and confirmed that is not Miss Beatty on the recording. And they purported to get it admitted and said it was Miss Beatty on the recording. It is not Miss Beatty, it's Miss Laporte.
But wasn't there a statement at the beginning about it being recorded?
Yes, Your Honor, but what I'm saying, but I want to correct the record. They indicated and stated on the record when they moved it in evidence, and we had the whole discussion of whether or not Miss Beatty had permission. Why was she monitoring these calls? Did she have permission from DCF? What's going to be the evidence on that? There was a whole 30-minute discussion about it. That is not Miss Beatty's voice. She is not the one interrupting the phone call. It is DCF, Miss Laporte. I wanted to bring that to the court's attention because there was a whole discussion about that when the court admitted the recording.
Mr. Anderson.
We played these from Maya Kowalski. She was there at the time. She knows Ms. Beatty's voice at that time, in that context, in that room. She says it's Ms. Beatty. So if they want to cross, if they want to try to say and bring in Ms. Laporte, whatever they want to do, fine. But right now it's an issue of fact, as I see it, and there's no reason to have. I'm not sure what the defense is asking to in this regard. This sounds like a matter of cross-examination. Our witness says that's Beatty. Apparently they have somebody which they can bring in. We welcome the opportunity to cross-examine them. That says it's her voice. But the only person so far before this court right now who has heard Ms. Beatty's voice in that context is Maya Kowalski.
What day was this call made?
This is the November 15th call. So there were 3 clips admitted on Thursday.
Judge, I just felt like I had an obligation to bring it to the court's attention because of the whole discussion. If they want to proceed, having been put on notice from our side that that's not Ms. Beatty, we're happy to do that. I just did not want to be accused later of not informing the other side that they are mistaken. If they wish to proceed with that assertion, the defense is happy to do that.
Sounds like there's nothing for me to do. Plaintiff's on notice of what the contention from the defense is, and the defense is on notice as to what the plaintiff's contention is.
Understood, Your Honor.
They're going to say it's not her.
Wow. Next, we'd like to discuss the exhibits that we'd like to admit before the testimony this morning. And Your Honor should have a copy of our list.
I have it. Lots of ends on it, but
yeah.
In fact, I don't see one Y.
I don't see a Y.
Why doesn't this surprise me?
2003
pretty funny, Mr. Anderson.
Maybe because what they want to put in, Judge.
Exhibit 2003 is the Johns Hopkins Hospital summary of the Florida Patient's Bill of Rights and Responsibilities produced to the plaintiffs during the pendency action, so relevant and existing at the time.
I'd have to listen again and compare it with her deposition.
None of these I'm going to discuss with you already in.
Is the Bill of Rights already in?
A version of the Bill of Rights is in, but this is a different version of the Bill of Rights.
When you say a different version, are we talking about different typeset or different language?
Different language, different typeset, different format, all of the above.
Essentially, so this one is just a list, and the other one is presented in like a brochure form with color and all of that. This one is just a list of what their rights are.
Judges.
And it says Johns Hopkins across the top.
Let me just see it, and then Ms. Corrales, you can certainly give me your position.
Hey guys, it looks like we get a fun game this morning. Our mods get to play whack-a-mole. You guys, as casual observers, don't need to comment on anything, but we're going to play whack-a-mole for a little bit while a very sad person
it's another Bill of Rights.
attempts to beat the game.
I don't understand why that would be.
What the plaintiff says is the language is different in some respects
comments needed.
than
We'll
what's
get
already in evidence.
Well, then is it a different date that was in effect? I mean, why are they putting in two different Bill of Rights? One would be effective during her stay.
They have multiple versions internally. We can't explain that, but the language is different, and the other one that they want to use essentially is more friendly to their position.
We surmise one is internal or an original, and then the other one was, again, turned into something that's part of the admissions package, and it's got 4 colors and all that.
Is 2003, and I see 001. How many pages is this?
Two. Go to the second page.
2 pages.
Is 2003-001 and 002 the Bill of Rights that was in effect in October of 2016 through January of 2017?
Yes, Your Honor. At the bottom of the second page, you'll see a date revised December 1st, 2015. It was in effect.
Anything else, Ms. Corrales?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I will admit 2003. On the statement that it is somewhat different, contains language that's different than what's already in evidence.
Yes, Your Honor. Next is 2045, if you could pull that up, please. Again, this is an internal Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital document and party mission, and it is, how many pages is it? 28 pages, setting forth the right. So it expands on the language in the other documents. It includes statements of witnesses in this case, like Brigitte Mueller, the patient safety coordinator, if you go to the next page. Next page.
Is this handed to the families as they come in, if they are admitted?
Yes, or there's brochures in the lobby to this effect. We're not sure exactly how it's It's on the website as well.
Keep going, please.
There's the statement by Brigitte Mueller, who has been the opponent in this case.
Yeah, they're going to try to argue against their own
Well, Your Honor,
literature.
these are not evidence of standard of care. It seems duplicative of what's already been admitted.
Duplicative. There's the big word for the day. Duplicative.
And I don't know if somebody's going to testify that they were handed this when they came into the hospital.
Well, it is a statement by the defendant, and it does appear relevant to the court, so I will go ahead and overrule the relevance objection and admit 2045. What's next?
Next, Your Honor, is 2046.
Lots of wins for
again,
the
a slightly different
plaintiff.
version. This is more akin to the one that was admitted before this morning. Now, the difference is this one has numbers and it's more readable.
Okay.
Judge,
I'm more concerned about text differences. Is there a text difference?
I'd like to come back to this one.
Come back, because if
Judge, I think
it's the same.
I think it's included in 20045.
In that case, never mind.
Well, I was going to double check, but I believe when I looked at them last night that one was included in here.
All right. We said to start.
We'll come back to it. Okay.
What's next?
2060 are the mortality tables.
Judge, our objection was they gave us 60 pages. They didn't tell us which page they're putting in. Surely they're not planning on putting in over 60 pages of, maybe they are, but that was our objection. What pages do you want to use? We're happy to look at it.
Which tables are you going to seek to use?
And the reason we put it all in was completeness. We didn't want them objecting. We did put the whole thing in. Judge, if you flip through these, you'll see they're separated out by male, female.
I've seen mortality tables many, many times. I'm asking you which one or ones do you wish to use?
Non-Hispanic, white.
No, Judge, a page.
Just what page number?
I can't believe that this is necessary for today. If they want to give us their page numbers, we'll be happy to look at it.
We'll carry it over tomorrow. We'll adjust the page numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Next, Your Honor, is 2175. These are text messages produced to us between two of the law physicians. Your Honor has seen these on several occasions before. There was a motion in limine filed before the last trial in which they tried to exclude these. The court ruled in our favor in that issue. Again, it's an exchange between Dr. Laura Vos and Dr. Tepa Sanchez, two of the critical care physicians that were involved with Maya's case during the admission.
Okay, but what am I physically looking at right here?
You're looking at the text messages as they were produced to us with the redactions. Are you on 2175?
This doesn't look like a text message. This looks like a call log.
It's a call log.
2175, page 1.
Maybe a voicemail.
Voicemail.
It's next page, Judge.
There was a text message.
003.
Oh, wow. Is there a less readable format you could have organized this into? Light blue, light green, and pink. Those are the colors you opted for a court record?
We need to continue the next page.
No, who's in the green and who's in the blue?
Your Honor, I believe Dr. Tepa Sanchez is in the blue. We have a demonstrative aid that clarifies this issue.
And Dr. Vos, who's the other? Those are the two in the conversation.
Okay, and what page or pages of this document are you seeking to use?
This page here, Your Honor, and then this page.
So when you say this page,
3.
Page 3.
Yes, Your Honor, and page 4.
Okay. Anything else?
Ooh, has some edited words in there. It's getting spicy.
I don't believe so. Unless they want for completeness, I mean,
the documentation of exactly when and where was in with it.
That for completeness argument goes against, like, hey, they need to tell us which way pages we want. We're like, we're going to put the whole thing in.
Judge. We object to page 4. These text messages, first of all, have no relevance to any of the claims currently before this jury. They don't go to any of the allegations regarding any communication with the plaintiffs. There's no indication that the plaintiffs ever knew about these text messages until well into this litigation. They don't go to battery. They don't go to negligence. They don't go to breaches of standard of care. These are text messages months after either of these doctors had any contact with any of the Kowalskis.
I know we did the right thing,
and
but
so
this
we
is
object
really
to them
blanked
being
up.
admitted.
Bad.
We object to testimony regarding them.
I mean, I, over the weekend, overruled the...
Well, we were going to ask to revisit that with you, Judge, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to let in pages 3 and 4. So I guess the question is, do you want the balance of the document or just pages?
No, I think this shows the time and date of them on the right. The rest would be just a duplication of the same messages, Judge.
So it's 2, 3, and 4, Mr. Whitman?
2, 3, and 4, Your Honor. Yes, thank you.
Judge, we object to relevance.
Okay, I'm going to receive pages 2, 3, and 4 of Exhibit 26.
Judge, can we inquire?
Oh, sorry.
Everything's
I apologize.
coming in.
2175.
Can we inquire the court as to the relevance of these text messages done in January? We honestly don't understand the relevance to.
Which means this makes us
Your
look
Honor,
pretty bad.
Maya in that hospital was treated like property and dehumanized, and these confirm that. They refer to her, rather than her name, as Ketamine Girl in her treatment. They refer to the involvement of Sally Smith earlier on. Parent agency is an issue in this case. They refer to the attitude towards the mother and the intentional infliction of emotional distress. All of these things are materially relevant to this lawsuit.
The methodology of brief counseling is also
Judge, we disagree that that's relevant to any of the issues in this case.
Lots of people in court looks to be supporting
my text messages are highly relevant.
Highly relevant.
To overrule the request not to admit the text messages. What's next?
Your Honor, I'd like to skip down to the second page if we could.
To the second page?
Yes, of our exhibit list for today. And
it's going to be a good day.
On 2529-055. If you could pull that up, please. This is a photograph of Maya Kowalski with a friend and fellow patient of Dr. Cantu's while in Mexico. She's been questioned about this witness in depositions, and we'd like to use it during Maya's testimony this morning and this afternoon.
Well, what relevance does this other person have, and why are we invading that person's privacy?
Well, she's gone, Judge. She passed. The witness passed.
Well, that family's privacy.
and she was an adult at the time, I believe. Was she over 18 at the time? So, Judge, the relevancy is this is another patient for the treatment. It was Maya's friend there, and the mothers were friends as well, and that's indicated there. You can see that this patient has CRPS of a pretty amazing degree, and we can show you in the next photo we're moving in.
I'm sorry, yeah.
With the leg. Okay, so there's a companion photo that is in evidence, Judge, and we just found this with Maya Kowalski yesterday. She didn't know she had this one, and it has been on our list. We just forgot to move it in. Right, so there you go. And if you compare the two photographs, you'll see
his story is
that,
changing.
That the friend here has significant CRPS as identified by the lesions on the leg, and Maya Kowalski can testify to the degree she has. And the important thing is,
you already have photos at this time of Maya Kowalski's CRPS, so why are we putting in this other photo? What relevance does this other person have in this case?
The relevance is that she has advanced CRPS and is still capable of smiling and appearing as though she's not in, quote, ultimate pain, despite the fact that she has this debilitating disease, as does Maya Kowalski. And it also goes to demonstrate the atmosphere and the care that was taken at the hospital during the ketamine infusions in Mexico. And so
that seems a little weak.
Judge, it's our understanding that this young lady died under Dr. Cantu's care, but beyond, so that will have to be discussed if this comes up. But beyond that, who's testifying that this young woman in the photo with Maya has CRPS? There's no doctor that's coming in. It's a remote issue. It's not relevant. There's already pictures, several, at least 3, I believe, at least 2 I know of, that of Maya while she's under Dr. Cantu's care, for smiling and in the wheelchair. So it's
this photo, which is 2529-055, is not appropriate. It's going to introduce other issues that are collateral to this lawsuit, and it would be cumulative with respect to photos of Maya Kowalski at the time that she was with Dr. Cantu in Mexico. What's next?
2583-007 and 008. There's a birthday card written by Diana Kowalski on or around December 10th, 2016, that the Kowalskis attempted to get to Maya and was intercepted by the hospital and never delivered. And Maya can authenticate it as her mother's writing.
Ms. Corrales, I can see that page 8.
I'm sorry, Judge.
2583-007 and 008.
Yeah. Judge, here it is. Sorry, I was looking for my copy of it. We object that it's hearsay. We object that there's no testimony that this was intercepted by the hospital. There's the foundation for that. Those are our objections.
On the hearsay.
It's not offered for the truth of the matter. It's offered for notice as to the existence of this birthday card.
And most important, Judge, the fact is there are a number of these items that were intercepted by Ms. B or someone else at the hospital, and we can demonstrate that, and Maya Kowalski can testify to learning later about these. And so this goes to the standard of care, or lack of standard of care, in terms of how they treated Maya Kowalski at the time. And we can show several different items that were sent to go to Maya Kowalski, were intercepted, and never received. Now, we only have a few because we only retrieved a few, but the court will see as the testimony goes on that this is one of a series of things that goes towards their plan, intent, motive, and generally the care that Maya received there.
How many objections do you need to add?
First of all, this interception issue, was it by DCF? There's no testimony to substantiate, and I don't know how Maya would know who intercepted them if she didn't get them. And that's going to leave another implication with this jury that is not substantiated, and again, blur the lines between DCF and Johns Hopkins.
How is the plaintiff going to get the testimony that this card was actually transmitted to the hospital?
Jack Kowalski will be on the stand this morning and can testify that he delivered this card to the hospital. Okay. We only have a copy because the audit took a photograph before it was delivered to the hospital. If they want to bring in someone to say that there's DCF personnel in the hospital intercepting birthday cards, so be it. But the hospital had possession of this card.
Not only that, Judge, like I said, we can demonstrate that Ms. Beatty did this on other occasions. And so this would go towards that.
Well, how about
They're scrambling.
who did Mr. Kowalski provide this card to? Just saying the hospital is probably not good enough. Who did he give it to?
I'm worried about Jack.
Coming in, I believe he had to give everything to Ms. Maybe.
Yes.
I'm worried about Jack. Jack has a hard time recounting events in a way that is admissible into court. And it's compounded by the fact that his lawyer has a hard time asking questions
We'll move on to the
that
next
help
one.
him
Yes,
recount events.
2597-015 is that the next
admissible
one?
into court.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge, you've already ruled on this. They previously attempted to get it in when they put in the package of photos. Number 15 was specifically denied.
This is different than the photos that were excluded. This is a photograph in the room, and Maya Kowalski will testify that these were the cameras in her various rooms.
Judge, this is exactly the photo that they tried to admit the other day. It's part of 2597. You specifically did not admit number 15 along with the other photos of the cameras. It's the exact same argument they made.
It looks very similar to something that I've seen and precluded.
Well, Your Honor, then we'd ask you to reconsider, because Maya will testify that these cameras existed in her various rooms that she was moved around in. And it's relevant to how she was observed in this hospital.
And considering the fact that they had made a big deal about Maya Kowalski self-harm by scratching herself, and these lesions were not lesions, they were scratches, the issue becomes if you had a camera in there and you were so concerned about this child's health, or that she was faking it, or that, to use Sally Smith's words, this was all a charade, one would think it'd be relevant and material that they had the ability to observe her anytime they wanted in these rooms. And in fact, the court's aware they did so for a 48-hour stint.
Is this the EEG room where she was secretly videotaped?
I can't say.
No, Judge. This is her hospital room, and that's why it's important. They had the ability to observe Maya at all times, and the court will see as the testimony comes on. And again, this is a 90.105. I mean, if we don't demonstrate through the course of our case that they were saying that Maya did things that she never did, we should be able to ask them, well, you had, in fact, we're going to ask them, you had phone cameras rather. Where's the evidence? If this is such a big deal, why isn't it in the medical records? Why didn't you take any pictures? Why didn't you, obviously you were concerned there, put her in a room where you could watch her to make sure she didn't inflict self-harm? Apparently, they did this, although I don't think it's for self-harm. So this is relevant material. It can be stricken if we don't lay the proper predicate as time goes on. But right now, we need Maya Kowalski to identify this. We want to move it into evidence, and then subject to under 90.105.
Judge, it's the exact same argument they made when they tried to put this exact same photo in the other day. They want to leave an implication that we had film that we're not showing the jury. There's no evidence of that. This is highly prejudicial to the defense, and there's no evidence that there, in fact, was any video or any recording done.
I'm going to stick with my original ruling. I'm going to preclude the admission of 2597-015. Now let's go back to 2583-007 and 008.
So
who did we give?
Jack needs to testify who they gave the card to.
The birthday card would have been to Kathy Beatty.
And you're going to testify under oath you
Yes.
handed it to Kathy
Yes, Your
Beatty?
Honor.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, we have documentation evidence to the contrary. If he wants to take the stand on that, full disclosure, we have an email from Beata Kowalski emailing this card to Charlotte Laporte at DCF. But if Mr. Kowalski wants to take the stand and testify to the contrary,
how could, maybe it was a picture of the card, but the actual physical card.
Right. Okay. Well, we have the email. The email chain regarding this card was from Beata Kowalski to Charlotte Laporte at DCF looking for clearance on the card.
Yeah, again, 2 forms of delivery as the court spotted.
Yeah. Assuming I'm going to get under oath testimony that he handed this card to Miss Beatty,
I wrote it down.
Okay, then I will admit 2583-007 and 008.
Lots of wins for the plaintiff today.
Do you need Mr. Kowalski to leave at this point, Your Honor, or may you stay in?
He's a party. He can stay if he wishes. If he wants to go outside, that's fine too.
All right, Your Honor, we have just a few minutes, and we have 3 exhibits we need to discuss. If we can get to it, please. I'd like to begin with 2116. The court has seen these text messages.
I'm sorry, I don't have that on my list. 2116?
2116 is these text messages between Dr. Sally Smith and Paula Dees. Where's the redacted?
It's down under the carryover exhibit portion of this list.
That wasn't on my.
The reason
that wasn't on the exhibit list I got, Judge.
It's been addressed previously. The last time the issue was with redactions. We wanted to show the court that the redactions have been made, show the defense the redactions have been made, and have it admitted now that the redactions have been made.
Judge, I don't know why, if I could have a moment to look at them, and I don't know why this is essential for either of these witnesses, since they're not party to any of these texts.
They put Maya in a room and videotaped her for 48 hours.
Have you previously given the redactions to...
Maya's here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge, I'm not saying they haven't, but my point is this. We're going to be objecting if they're trying to use these exhibits with either Jack Kowalski or Maya Kowalski. They're not party to these texts. They're not aware of these texts at the time they're happening. So I fail to see why they're relevant to any of today's proceedings. And I just didn't look at them again because I didn't have them on my list, to be honest.
That's because they were on the list from the previous date.
About what she was told or not told about why she's been put in a room for 48 hours. And these texts establish the chain of events leading Paula Dees and Sally Smith to decide to put her under video surveillance.
Is Maya Kowalski going to testify that she saw any of these texts, were told about any of these texts?
Not at the time.
Then why are we using these texts with Maya Kowalski's testimony?
It's our understanding, if as a party admission, and they are admitted, once in evidence, an exhibit may be used with any witness for any purpose relevant to the suit.
Judge, they want to ask Maya Kowalski questions about things which she didn't know about just to put it in front of the jury is improper. To request that a witness simply, again, read a document that they're not part of.
How many pages is this document?
How what?
How many pages is this document?
10 pages.
Ms. Crowell, you might want to take a gander at it.
And I'm just told we provided these in redacted form on October 3rd. We've also provided the demonstrative aid that we would use that is just the text messages.
Judge, again, I would object to them using a demonstrative aid with this witness or Mr. Kowalski for something that they were not part of. That's not a demonstrative aid. First of all, we object to them putting up what's in evidence, and calling it a demonstrative aid doesn't make it a demonstrative aid. And secondly, neither of these witnesses have any knowledge about any of these texts until well into the litigation. So it's improper examination of the witness rather than standing up and objecting at the time, Judge, since they've forecast what they intended to do.
Well, that's a little bit different than the issue of whether it should be admitted.
I understand, Judge. I'm sorry. I'm looking for my copy. And
While Ms. Crowell's
party
trying
admission.
to find that, can we go to the next one?
Yes, Your Honor. 2661. It's a video, Your Honor, of Maya Kowalski in her wheelchair at home. September 2015. Go ahead.
Oh, who's the guy in the background?
Your Honor, this shows her condition at the time. Maya Kowalski will testify. Obviously, she's in a wheelchair. She'll additionally testify to this being reflective of her physical condition because she's not using the pedals on the piano because of her dystonia.
Ms. Crowell's or Mr. Shapiro?
Yeah, that's fine. Your Honor, this is undated, but we don't see what this is probative to. They had multiple videos, cameras, photographs, and evidence. It's undated. It's not probative to any issue in the case.
I'm going to overrule the relevance objection and admit 2661. What's next?
I'm sorry, what was the date again of that exhibit, please?
They contended September of 2015.
Yes, I can get you the exact date. I think that's been provided previously, but I'll get it to you. Next, Your Honor, is 2666. It's October 4th, 2015 video of Maya Kowalski at home on the bathroom or kitchen floor. And it's showing the symptoms of CRPS, the involuntary spasms and the dystonia that's developing.
For your tummy, when I touch your tummy, that feels good, right?
They're going to object to hearsay because of the voice of Beata on the video.
We object to the hearsay, Your Honor.
Bingo.
And who's dating?
In the date, we don't have an authentication on the date either.
October 4th, 2015.
Who's?
What about the
hearsay?
Beata Kowalski's?
It's funny because the judge knows it's Beata.
Anybody can make them out. It's certainly not for the truth of the matter asserted in any way. This is simply through the course of this to find out the response. And then as the guardian, the parent and guardian of Maya Kowalski, again, we believe that this is an 803-4 and, 3. because she is the guardian at that time, determining what the physical condition of Maya Kowalski was at that time. And Maya Kowalski can testify to that and verify as necessary.
Judge, to revisit the date, there's nothing on this video that says the date. So for them just saying a date doesn't make it evidentiary, the date.
Is there going to be testimony as to the date?
I think we've got metadata that shows what the date is, but I will double check that. And I don't think, if we don't have the metadata, and I'm sorry, Judge, there's a lot of exhibits, I know that we can identify it generally to this period of time, to it being the early mid-fall of 2015 with Ms. Kowalski. She definitely remembers that it was at that point, before she had gone to Mexico, and after the point where she had been treated by Dr. Kirkpatrick.
I don't believe Beata Kowalski's statements really are hearsay in the sense that they're being used to prove the truth of the matter asserted. But even if they were, it does seem that 90.803(4) would apply because Beata is asking Maya about her physical condition, which then will be relayed to medical providers. So
the plaintiff's on the ball. With
either
evidence.
event, I do
we have not seen that for quite a while.
Would come in, so the court will admit 2666, yes, inclusive of the audio. So that takes.
Is that
2116? Is that the last one?
That's the last one we need to discuss.
It's past 9 o'clock at this point. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Judge, I found my copy of 2116, and so we have no objection.
Then 2116 comes in.
Redacted version.
Did you say you have no objection? Or?
Right, we would object to the use of this with either of the witnesses, Judge. I guess we'll have to do that timely, but when they do it. But again, they're not part and parcel to these communications, so why they would be allowed to testify as to them.
The court receives 2116.
They don't like the
Anything
rules,
else
but I
before we
think
bring
they'll
in
be
the
allowed
jury?
in.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and our plan is Jack Kowalski first. How long is he going to be on the stand?
I hope no more than 10 minutes. I only have a few questions, so to speak. That's a famous phrase in this courtroom now.
Okay, this is going to be a spicy day.
Bring in the jury.
Bring the jury. Here we go. So Kelly is older than the girl, and she's brown-haired, so still no Kelly, which is concerning because Kelly got sick. That's why she wasn't there. So hopefully she's doing okay.
All rise, jury's entering.
Jury's entering. Shout out to JB this morning. JB, hope you're doing great up there in the frozen tundra. It was 45 degrees this morning. 45. And I spent a little bit of time with my family this morning. I'm all drinking hot chocolate.
Okay, please be seated. Happy Monday. Did y'all have a good weekend? Yes, glad to hear that. I want to confirm that since you were last with us, that you did not discuss this case amongst yourselves, you did no investigation, and you received no information. Is that all correct? Correct. And has anyone approached you since the last time you were with us about this case? No. And have you seen any media coverage since the last time you were with us about this case? No. Okay. Mr. Anderson, your next witness, please.
Jack Kowalski.
Indy Cindy, welcome.
I do.
Okay, Jack is on the stand first, and then we're going to go to Maya, I believe, directly after him.
State your name for the record, please.
Jack Kowalski.
Mr. Kowalski, were you here this past Thursday when the deposition of Kathy Beatty was played concerning certain alleged conversations?
I was.
Can you tell the jury whether you ever gave Kathy Beatty permission in any way to touch your child?
Absolutely not.
Undress your child?
No.
Photograph your child?
No.
Put Maya on her lap?
No.
Hug your child?
No.
Kiss your child?
No.
Say anything to your child in any way having to do with sex?
No.
Objection.
Or video?
Objection. Move to strike out.
No.
Other than the transfer form in evidence to Nemours for Munchausen by proxy as the reason, did Johns Hopkins ever present you with any other attempts to transfer Maya out of there?
I didn't understand it. Could you repeat that?
Was the Nemours transfer form the only one you saw?
I had never seen a transfer form.
From the Moores?
I did not.
You did not see it?
No.
And did you ever have any discussions with Kathy Beatty having anything to do with her, quote, providing Maya comfort?
No.
And at any point, Mr. Kowalski, was it ever brought to your attention that there was an ongoing plan to separate you and Mrs. Kowalski and Kyle Kowalski from Maya Kowalski through adoption or foster care?
Objection, mischaracterization, foundation.
I'm going to say that you need to rephrase.
Sure. What, if anything, did Johns Hopkins, anyone there, ever tell you about, in early November of 2016, a plan or goal of transferring Maya into foster care?
I was not aware of that.
Show, if we could, in evidence, 1001-3795.
This is some good questioning right now. They prepared over the weekend. This is great stuff.
And Mr. Kowalski, will you note the date there under the psychological progress note? What is the date? It's in the middle of the page.
Oh, in the middle, I'm sorry. 11/2 of 2016.
So how long then after your admission, or Maya's admission, on October 7th of 2016 was this memo? How many weeks?
No, that's almost a month. Pretty close to it.
Can we see the next page? 3796. We can enlarge. There at the top, if you'd please review what has been marked into evidence. Now, did Dr. Katzenstein or anyone at Johns Hopkins inform you that within a month there was a plan to transfer your daughter into, quote, therapeutic foster care setting?
Objection, mischaracterization, foundation.
Sustained.
Were you ever made aware of what is stated in the interval history here?
Same objection.
Overruled.
No, I was not.
When various things, did you make notes on or during the time of Maya's stay there in which you documented some of the things happening?
I did.
Do you remember every single one of them, or specifically?
There's quite a bit of things, so it'd be kind of hard to...
Would it refresh your recollection to see a note from that time?
That'd be great.
Your Honor, for the record, this is 2380.
We're going to refresh his recollection. We're going to only show it to him and not the jury. Okay, now it can be put up.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
They pulled out
for
the
record,
relative note.
This is 2380-013. May I approach? Do you already have a copy of this?
I do not have it.
Man, the plaintiff, they worked all weekend long. You can tell. This is...
Can you take it down for a second? Is this in evidence?
No, Your Honor, this is simply to refresh. This is marked for ID.
Mr. Reyes, for whatever, I guess, how you two have split this up, I just saw it up on the gallery TV, and I have turned that off, so I'm going to need you to switch over to your table left and then run it that way. I'm sorry, we'll
He's going to unplug his laptop here. Just a
I
second.
can't have it go to the gallery monitor.
Okay, so unplug the HDMI, plug in the other HDMI. This is how we work things. Never mind the fact that there's a very cheap device you could plug both in and just push a button and switch. Let's manually plug it in. Little B, welcome to the jury. Thank you so much. Good to have you here. Look at that green courthouse. Appreciate your continued support. This is what we wanted to see from Jack and from Mr. Anderson all along. And
Please, Court.
it's
Mr. Kowalski, will you please review 2380-013?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection as to what notes you made and what you were told at the time about Maya Kowalski's treatment?
Yes, sir.
And what you observed?
Yes.
Maya Kowalski's treatment?
Randy, huge congratulations to you guys. Thanks for letting me hang out with you guys a little bit.
What is the first point there that was of concern regarding Ms. Beatty's?
I just took it down. If it's being used to refresh his recollection.
I understand.
So I just took it down.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. You can continue.
What, if anything, did Ms. Beatty tell Maya about Beata, your wife, and mental treatment?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Overruled.
I remember one time I came in there and Maya asked me, she asked if Mom was in a mental hospital, and I asked her why would you come up with that. And she stated that the social worker, Kathy Beatty, told Maya that her mom's getting mental treatment. I was outraged.
Was that true in any way, shape, or form?
No, it was not.
And what, if anything, did you learn as to Ms. Beatty's involvement with Maya about comforting her?
There was more than one time. She states that, Maya, when I say she, Maya stated that Kathy Beatty would place Maya on her lap, stroke her hair. There was a time she said, "I know I'm not your mother, but I can be." She kissed her on the cheek. Maya was not acceptable of having that done. It was very disturbing to hear this. And
what, if anything, did you learn about Kathy Beatty's behavior during supervised phone calls?
Maya would state, while speaking with her mom, that was a special time for both of them to get to talk to each other. Kathy Beatty be supervising it. She would have her phone on the bed. And while Mom and Maya were talking about different things, Kathy Beatty be rolling her eyes or making facial expressions. Very, very disruptive, for Maya to pay attention to Mom.
What, if anything, what emotions or fears did Maya have concerning retaliation from Ms. Beatty in court proceedings, or because of court proceedings?
Jack, speculation. Overruled.
Maya stated she was extremely scared to mention a lot of things. She was worried that she would not be able to go to the courthouse or talk with the judge on the phone. So she was very worried to say certain things because she was worried about Kathy interfering with her chance to talk to the judge on the phone.
What, if anything, did Ms. Beatty and or the nurses attending your daughter tell her about her illness, as to whether it was physical or psychological?
Object, no speculation in compound.
What, if anything, did she relate the nurses were telling her about her symptoms and her illness?
Most of them said that it was all in Maya's head, and I'm sure she'll testify to that.
Now, upon being told this, did you relate this to your wife?
Yes, I did.
And what, if anything, was her reaction?
The same as mine. Very upset.
As you came home and told her about more and more of these things, describe for the jury how she was reacting.
Well, like any mother would, to hear something like that going on and it's not true, she was outraged. And there's nothing she could do about it.
Now, at or about the time it occurred, January 6, 2017, did you make notes concerning the preparation, if you will, of Maya for her court appearing that day?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember everything about that, or would you need?
I remember a lot of what I wrote down, yes.
All right. Do you need your recollection refreshed, or can you just tell them?
I'll try to go from my memory.
Go ahead. Tell them what you understood was done to your daughter immediately before going to the courthouse.
Maya was finally coming to the courthouse for the first time.
And was this important to her?
Yeah, extremely important. She was looking forward to this day. She was going to go to the courthouse and then also be evaluated by Dr. Duncan, and then I believe a doctor's evaluation from Dr. Hanna after that. Prior to leaving the hospital, the social worker, Kathy Beatty, stated that Maya needs to strip down and she has to take pictures of my daughter. Maya was not agreeable on that. She said, if you do not get the pictures, you are not going to court. Maya cried. Another nurse came in to assist the social worker, took the pictures of Maya.
Do you recall, immediately before we started here, seeing a birthday card, and for the record, Judge, it is 2583-007 and 008, written by Beata Kowalski to Maya Kowalski?
Yes, I remember that card.
And can you tell the court and the jury how that was delivered? Who did you deliver it to?
Well, first of all, I remember that card I have the memory of that card because I remember Beata. She put lipstick on her lips and she kissed the card. to put the lip her lip marks on the card for her. I did bring the card. At that time, I brought it to Kathy Beatty. Prior to that, all the stuff went to the CPS or whoever it was. But at that time, that's later on, Kathy Beatty was doing the scheduling for the visitations and that.
So who did you hand it to?
Kathy Beatty.
Did you learn later whether your daughter had actually ever received that card?
She did not.
May we publish, Your Honor?
It's in evidence, right? Go ahead and publish.
Okay, we are on catch up right now, so it's going a little bit fast. We're like 2 or 3 minutes behind.
Like I said, I remember her kissing this card.
All right. Now, if we could, let me ask you whether you ever learned from Dr. Vose, Dr. Tepa Sanchez, Kathy Beatty, or really from any other doctor or nurse there, whether they had given Maya an internal nickname.
I heard of one.
Maya's mom kissed the card. Miss Beatty took card away.
Publish 2175 in evidence, Your Honor.
Yeah, just objection in terms of the time frame based on the proffer from earlier.
Understood. When did you first learn of it?
After she was released.
We publish, I think it's 03 and 04.
These are the text messages that they fought over. I think they should be redacted.
All right.
So no phone numbers are shown.
If you could review that for us, Mr. Kowalski.
Very top one. Ketamine girl.
Did they ever confront you and tell you that they thought your wife taking herself out of the picture in some form would be the best thing for Maya?
Object to the statement of remorse.
Any doctor or nurse during this period of time at Johns Hopkins?
Same objection.
No, the only time Kathy Beatty one time asked me if I ever considered divorcing my wife. It was just a weird situation, and I said no. And I said, why would you ask that? And she walked away.
Were you aware that Ms. Vose had another mother do the same thing, apparently commit suicide in this situation?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
Sustained.
Wow.
What, if anything, did you learn during this time that Ms. Vose had knowledge of a prior incident?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Do you know?
I didn't know at that time, no.
The jury heard that. Yeah, there was an objection, but the jury heard that.
And Beata taking her own life, was this the right thing for Maya? It states there.
There's no right thing. There's no.
But the basis of this conversation was never conveyed to you?
No.
These are text messages saying that Beata taking her life was the right thing for Maya. Internal messages. Yes, he's sneaking in stuff that he needs to. Once it's admitted to the court as evidence, he can use it with any witness he wants.
Your witness.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Kowalski.
Good morning.
Just to make sure I understand your testimony about the transfer, your testimony is that you never saw the transfer forms?
I did not.
So the rejection of transfer was made by your wife?
The rejection of the transfer was made after we read the codes and found out it was not for CRPS, it was for conversion disorder or Munchausen.
The jury will see the codes again, but if I understand your testimony, even though Nemours Children's Hospital recommended this transfer was in the best interest of Maya, and even though all Children's Hospital...
Objection. The predicate stating facts. Let me get the question. Sustained.
Okay. Even though the transfer was recommended in the best interest of Maya. Cross-examination, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's fine, but... Okay. Sustained.
Okay. The rejection was made by Beata because she did not like the way it was framed about her, correct?
With that code, yes, because that didn't happen. So she was not going to accept that code on there. She would admit guilt.
She was not asked to sign a statement of guilt, Mr. Kowalski, was she?
If you sign that form and that's on there, you're agreeing with that diagnosis, with that code on there. So no, she would not agree on that.
Even though the transfer was recommended as medically necessary for Maya, correct?
Sustained.
Okay. Well, let me ask you about the questions about medical foster. You were aware that that was a DCF consideration being made, correct?
I did not know about that.
Okay. You were not aware that the question about whether whether medical foster was being made, you weren't made aware of that at the time?
Mr. Anderson, you got to let the question be asked.
I understand.
Okay. And then just only legal basis. Okay. Mr. Shapiro, what's your question?
Okay. Did your lawyers ever discuss with you whether a DCF recommended medical foster was being contemplated?
Objection. Calls for attorney-client privilege. Communications.
Sustained.
Okay. I'll re-ask it, Your Honor. You were never made aware during the course of Maya's treatment that there was a DCF consideration for medical foster. Is that right?
Not that I was aware of until just recently.
Talking a little bit more about Kathy Beatty, you testified earlier to this jury that you were upset that the caregivers at All Children's were being cold to your daughter. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And in this situation, you heard Miss Betty, by video, testify that she was trying to provide comfort to your daughter when she found out that DCF was not going to release her on Christmas. Is that right?
Say that again.
You were here when Miss Betty testified by video.
Yes.
That the reason she was trying to comfort your daughter was because she found out that the court and DCF were not going to allow her to be released by Christmas. You heard that testimony, correct?
That's what she said.
Okay. She testified she was trying to provide comfort for your daughter after hearing that emotionally devastating news. True?
She does not have the right to comfort a girl and kiss her on the cheek and stroke her hair. I'm sorry.
You knew that Miss Betty also brought your child to the chapel to pray?
Yes, I found out about that.
Well, you certainly wanted your daughter to receive communion, true?
Not by Kathy Beatty.
Well, let me ask you about that. Is it fair to say that you never personally witnessed Miss Betty say anything inappropriate to Maya?
No, I didn't.
I'm correct. You never witnessed Miss Betty say anything inappropriate to Maya, correct?
I never witnessed, no.
Okay. The supervision of the phone calls that you spoke about earlier, you agreed, do you not, that your wife, Beata, was making statements about Maya's medical care that were not in Maya's best interest, true?
Objection.
Legal basis.
Assumes facts not in evidence and assumes those facts.
Overruled.
Say that question again.
Sure. During the period of time where your wife was calling Maya, she was calling and demanding medical treatments, and you yourself did not agree with your wife doing that, correct?
Not all the time, and my wife had the right to question medical. We still had our parent rights.
You actually told your wife to knock it off.
That was after I was told to leave the hospital.
Mr. Kowalski, my question to you, yes or no, you had told your wife to knock it off when she was calling the hospital.
Let me finish where that was, because you're taking it and putting it somewhere else. That was the day that I had to walk out of your hospital, and I was told my daughter is not under my custody anymore. I drove all the way home from St. Pete. I caught myself doing 15 miles an hour driving on I-75. I was so upset. And when I got home, my wife was on the phone talking to the nurse at the hospital. And that's why I told her to knock it off. So that's where that was. So don't put it somewhere else.
But you also told your wife to stop calling the hospital and demanding treatment even after that point, true?
That was during that time. That was that recording.
With regard to the photographs, Mr. Kowalski, you did not find out about those photographs until after Beata passed away, true?
That I didn't see the photographs, that's true.
Okay. And Beata didn't see the photographs either before she passed away, did she? You were unaware of the photographs at the time Beata passed away, true?
Say that question again, I'm sorry.
You were unaware of the photographs before Beata passed away.
I believe that's true.
One moment, Your Honor.
So the photographs could not have been the reason or a contributing factor to Beata's passing.
Mr. Anderson.
That was a little win for the defense in that regard.
Mr. Kowalski, DCF never told you anything about any plans to transfer your daughter out of your care?
No.
Did you call the insurance company to confirm those codes, the ones that were on the divorce form?
Yes, I did.
Was there a place on that form, although it's in evidence, to see where you had to sign it as a parent in order to effect the transfer?
The transfer form, after I finally seen it, yes, there is a.
And when you walked in, Miss Beatty wouldn't talk to you much at all about what she was doing or anything, would she?
No.
She kind of went dark when you were there.
Yes.
And so during this period of time when you had your daughter taken from you in this first week without any authority whatsoever, what was the stress level between you and your wife?
What would you imagine? It was extremely high.
And during this period of time, can you tell the jury whether you and Beata maintained, by court order, the right to participate and direct Maya's health care?
That is correct.
If we could bring up trial exhibit 2003-001, the All Children's Health System Summary of Patients' Bill of Rights. And I'll focus you down to the sixth one: the patient has a right to be given
by the health care provider.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one: to the hospital guarantee you have the right to refuse treatments?
That is correct.
Anything further, Mr. Shapiro?
Just two questions, Your Honor. If we could put back up that trial exhibit 2003-001. Well, just in the interest of time, Mr. Kowalski, you saw it said, a patient has the right to refuse any treatment except otherwise provided by law, correct?
Yes.
And you were aware, because you had your own attorney as well, there were multiple orders from DCF governing what treatment your daughter could get, true?
Say that question again.
You were aware, because you had lawyers appearing before you, before the DCF tribunal, that there were multiple orders governing patient care, true?
Yeah, but we tried to leave there prior to all the legal.
Well, we'll get back into that later, sir, but let me just ask you this about the transfer. Did you ever go to either All Children's or Nemours and say, I agree to the transfer, but I disagree with one of the codes? Did you ever do that?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, members of the jury, do any of you have questions? Okay.
It is getting spicy. Jack's doing a great job. Mr. Anderson is doing a great job today. We are on 1.25 speed because we're just a couple minutes behind live. Once we get caught up, you'll notice that the sound slows down just a tiny bit. But we're just a couple minutes behind what's live. We are expecting, as soon as Jack is finished on the stand, that Maya then takes the stand and begins to testify, and that will probably take the most of the day. Meaning, I don't think so. It probably doesn't match the
Kowalski,
the content.
The jury has a question. You said you did not see the photos we were just discussing. Did you have the opportunity to hear about them, perhaps from Maya, as an example?
At that time, before I seen them, yes, I was advised around that rate shortly after that, yes.
Anything further from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor, the witnesses. The witness not be excused, but
nothing further.
Okay, you may step down.
Thank you.
Okay, members of the jury, in a moment, we're going to take a break. I should have done this before Mr. Kowalski testified. There's two instructions I need to give you. I'll give you these two instructions, and then we'll take a short break. On Friday, September 29th, 2023, you heard the testimony of Mrs. Meg Boland. She is the woman who testified by Zoom from North Carolina. During her testimony, a Facebook text message that she received on November 17, 2016 from Beata Kowalski was introduced into evidence. That text message was introduced as evidence of Beata Kowalski's state of mind on November 17, 2016. The text message was not introduced as proof of any of the factual statements or opinions that Beata Kowalski made in that text message. In your deliberations at the end of this case, you should consider this text message only as evidence of Beata Kowalski's state of mind at that time. So that's the first one. The second instruction. During the testimony of Dr. Henschke, there was evidence presented that Ms. Kowalski has experienced stress related to this current lawsuit. Although I have determined that this evidence is relevant to the issues in this case that you will be instructed on later, any stress that a party to a lawsuit experiences because of their involvement in a lawsuit is not a matter for which damages are recoverable in that lawsuit. Okay. With that, members of the jury, we're going to take a short break. Let's try to keep it to 10 minutes. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not do any investigation and receive no information. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
All rise.
Okay, let's see if they have anything to handle here. Let's see. Okay, so now we're gonna catch up to real time because we've got a break, which means we have to do a couple things. We have to sing "Happy Birthday" on this break to KX Star.
Be seated, Mr. Reyes. Now that we're done with the refreshing recollection, and I don't have to worry about the gallery, you can go back to how it was. Are there any issues we need to address prior to us taking a break?
Not from plaintiffs.
Not from the defense.
Okay, let's try to keep this to 10 minutes at the max. Thank you very much. We'll be in recess for 10 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to switch to, let's see, how can I do this? I don't know why. My switcher does not want to play nicely. Give me just a second. Let's get this set up here. Output, media players, palettes. Why? Let's see. Super source, there it is. Okay, so box 1, I need to do box 2 is going to be camera 2. There we go. All right, now we're good. So now we're caught up. And now I'll fix box 3. All right, I have to sing Happy Birthday right now because that needs to happen. But give me just 1 second here. Just Crystal K's in the courtroom. Wonderful. She mentioned that she was going to be there, so that's awesome. That's one of our own present in the courtroom. Thank you very much, Just Crystal. I'm not sure if I think it's public knowledge, but Just Crystal has what I'll say is more than the average knowledge about the legal system. So exciting to hear. Possibly when you get a break. And you're outside the courtroom following the guidelines to hear what you're observing. All right, let's see. And just Crystal, if you want to out yourself and let us know what you're wearing so we can see you in the background, because there's a good chance you're probably on camera occasionally. Okay. Can someone do my work for me so I can pay more than 1/3 attention, says Wheeler925. Oh, man. Cass, member for 8 months. 8 months. Thank you so much. Love your support. It's wonderful having you here with us. Would not be the same without you. Okay. Anything? Okay, we've got a couple. There we go. A couple birthdays. So let's get this done before we lose our opportunity. Where's the birthday song? Did I lose? Oh, there it is. Okay. I've just got these 3. 1, 2. Judy Sinaluscious. Is it Sinaluscious? Okay, here we go. La 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 la. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Kickstar, Judy and Sinaluscious. Happy birthday to you. Okay, sorry. The judge was talking, so I went low because he's got a higher voice, so you could pick out his voice at the same time. Break's over.
Welcome back.
So
Just for
have a happy birthday. Thanks for spending it here with
everyone
us.
here in the gallery.
Hope we can add it a little bit
it's
better.
Kind of tight in here. We are opening up an overflow courtroom in courtroom F, as in Foxtrot. It's 2 doors down, 2 courtrooms down this hallway. If anyone wishes to have a little bit more space, feel free. We're turning on the feed there, so you'll be able to see and hear just like you're in here, but you'll have a little bit more arm space. Just to let you know that that will be an option if you wish.
Your Honor, update on Dr. Newberger. He is very, very doubtful. We designated his deposition. There are 3 volumes. The last one is video, which we would want to show after, of course, edit. The first 2 were not videotaped, they're just regular depots. And so we would like to, in our trial plan, play him tomorrow at some point. The defense, we called and asked if they could expedite their designations, but we wanted to just check with the court and advise you, because we know how busy you are, how much stuff you've got going on, and get a feel for whether it would be a possibility of playing him at some point tomorrow or the next day.
Well, first off, will the defense have an opportunity to do what they need to do?
Well, Judge, I've been through 1 volume. We got that message at some point over the weekend. I had other things I had to deal with. I've been through 1 volume. I haven't been through the other 2 volumes, so I doubt that the court's going to be able to rule on them in order to be edited
thank you so much.
and played tomorrow, Judge. And we have large objections we need to deal with.
We can put off till Wednesday, and so the defense knows, although there are a number of designations in the first volume, the second volume has almost none.
Okay,
well, to the extent that there are designations, by the time we leave today, whatever designations and objections that exist, if I can have them, as well as the full-size transcript. That always helps when I get the depot transcript.
Yeah, Judge, understood. I'm not sure what exactly happened over the weekend. It was sort of a mishmash, but I won't be able to finish that until tonight, Judge.
I understand, but if it's 3 volumes and you've already completed 1,
I haven't.
Did they party over the weekend?
Not like.
Okay, well, if you have it,
I do not.
Okay, I was just going to try to start my work, but I mean, if it's not, then it's not.
She says, I don't remember what happened over the weekend, and I've heard that from other people
Clarify the schedule. We
as well.
Ms. Kowalski and Mr. Kowalski are going to be testifying today. We have 2 witnesses that are in the audience that have been apparently attending part of the proceedings this morning.
What witnesses do we have?
That would be Dr. Corcoran and I believe Dr. Brewerton.
2 named designated experts, of course, granted us the exception to sequestration. So Dr. Tim Brewerton, who's the expert psychiatrist, and then Joe Corcoran, who's the expert in hospital administration, and hearing this testimony would obviously be advantageous in forming their opinions.
Anything else?
So 2 witnesses in the audience the defense objected to, but they're experts.
That was one point. The other point is we understood they were coming tomorrow. We're not trying to squeeze these in today, something like that.
No, that's not my intention. I mean, if we ran short today, we'd either play a depot or I guess we could start one of them, but I really don't think we'll have much time today left after Maya Kowalski's testimony direct across.
Okay. For your planning purposes, tomorrow, Tuesday, October 10th, we will have to take our lunch break over the noon hour. So we will have, no matter where we are, we'll have a hard stop at 11:55 if we haven't taken a break. So just understand that I'll have a hard break at 11:55, and then on Wednesday, the 11th, we'll have to take a lunch break at 11:30. So we'll have a hard stop at 11:25.
I predict defense is going to take notes from Maya while she's on the
We'll
stand.
talk about Thursday later.
Like, what do you have with you? We'd like a copy type thing.
They're just meetings that, like, I've got a meeting with the chief judge, so probably 30 or 45 minutes, but we'll just take our lunch early.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Megan, thanks for
Anything
gifting the
else before we
membership.
bring the jury in?
That one went to Murray Moss.
We are still trying to work it so that we will finish Friday afternoon, Judge. It just depends on how long it takes to get the witnesses we've informed them about into evidence. And of course, Dr. Newberger, which is why, and I would have obviously done designations earlier, but I was hopeful he would testify live.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, we're starting to pass over that time of being ahead to being behind, so let's do what we can to try to keep up. Okay, let's bring in the jury.
Right, and Maya is right here. Maya's about to take the stand, and that would explain why we have so many people in the courtroom. Judge had to open up an overflow courtroom. Lawyers joking with her a little bit, hopefully just breaking the ice a little bit, as this may be a difficult day today. I'm hoping that it's not Mr. Anderson who examines Maya on the stand.
Okay, please be seated. So I hear with that announcement, Deputy Coley is trying to keep you on your toes. I want to confirm while you're away, you did not discuss this case amongst yourselves. You did no investigation and you received no information. Is that all correct? Have you been approached by anyone since we last saw each other? And have you seen any media coverage? Okay. Mr. Anderson, your next witness, sir.
Plaintiff's call Maya Kowalski.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Maya Kowalski.
Maya, you have a very soft voice, so you'll need to get that microphone up there close so everybody can hear you. And where do you live?
I live in Venice, Florida, in a subdivision called Stonewalk.
And how old are you?
I am 17 years old.
Where were you born?
I was born in Elmhurst, Illinois.
Outside of Chicago?
Yes.
What kind of neighborhood?
It's a really small neighborhood. There was barely any houses. There was houses on both sides of the street, but only a single street.
And how were things growing up in your family? And we'll publish 2528-45 for this. And you can continue. I mean, we'll just...
Okay. So here I'm pictured with my dad's deputy chief fire helmet. You could tell I'm feeling pretty cool there. Growing up, Elmhurst was amazing. I loved it there, and it was like a quiet little place.
And did you get to spend some time with your dad and mom?
Both of them, yes.
They both worked?
Yes, they did, but they always made time for their children.
Did your dad ever take you to any fires?
He actually did take me to a few, but eventually he started dropping me off at my neighbor's house. The grandma was Polish, so Kyle and I could communicate with her pretty well.
Okay. And so during your time there in Elmhurst, did your mother or your dad introduce you to different hobbies and sports?
Yes. I was a ballerina at one point. I was a gymnast and then a figure skater. And then Kyle, he played soccer, he did piano. I also did piano. And then Kyle tried out gymnastics for a little bit.
Okay, let's show 2528-102. This is your mom and you ice skating? Was
Yes.
she your instructor at first?
At this point, no. My mom didn't teach me figure skating. She actually started after me. Here, we're in the Wizard of Oz production. I was a munchkin, and then my mom was a cowgirl.
Okay. And did you, let's go to 2528-115. How old were you when you were introduced to gymnastics?
I started gymnastics in Illinois. There was actually an incident on the playground. I approached a few girls and they were practicing their floor routine, and I asked if I could try, and they told me, no, you're too small, you'll never make it. So I went home, I told my mom, sign me up. She did, and I was actually really good at the sport from the beginning.
And you continued that through when you moved to Florida initially?
Yes.
All right. And so were you able to spend some leisure time with just your mom? And we'll look at 2528-124. And by the way, so your mom didn't introduce you to gymnastics, you had the idea?
Yes, I did. Same with piano, and then ballet, all of them. They were all my ideas.
And your mom supported you in those?
Always.
And that story you told, has that been indicative of your life when people tell you you can't do something?
Oh yeah, I'm going to prove you wrong.
All right. So this is you and your mom now. Where is this? Is this once you reached Florida?
Yes, so this is actually Casperson Beach. It's the shark tooth capital of the world. There's a cute little restaurant there called Sharky's, and near it is this little pier, and after dinner we would walk on the pier and watch the sunset.
Mm-hmm. Was that something you and your mom did regularly, or tried to do?
Yeah, we did it quite often, actually, all of us as a family.
How was the transition from the suburbs of Chicago down here to the Venice area for you?
For me, it wasn't too bad. I did have my mom's family there and friends, but I was hopeful that I'd make new friends in Florida, and the idea of having a pool was really cool, so, I mean, that helped.
Mm-hmm. That was the inviting thing, the bait?
Yeah.
All right. When you moved to Florida, and really during this period of time before the CRPS, can you tell the jury about your health generally?
Generally, it was really good. I mean, I did have asthma. I was diagnosed in Illinois, but it didn't bother me so much.
And just childhood illnesses for the most part?
Yeah, I did break my arm at one point.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so in our subdivision, the road, it went up on a hill. So I rode up the hill, and then I did like a little U-turn, and I was going down, but there was a car behind me. I saw it, I freaked out, and I crashed into this curb, and then I fell into a ditch directly onto my arm, and I broke it. After that happened, I didn't cry. I stood up, picked up my bike, dragged it out of the ditch, hopped right back on it, drove home, and I told my dad that my arm hurt, and he didn't think anything was wrong because I wasn't crying or acting, all dramatic. He told me to go lay down. I did. We didn't think much of it. A few days went by, and I was holding it in a weird position, and my dad's like, we should probably go get that checked out. So we went to the doctors. They ordered an x-ray. We went home. We got the call from the doctor that it was fractured, and only then did I cry because I realized I wasn't going to be able to do any of the activities that I enjoyed.
So how many days did you have a broken arm without complaining to your mom or dad?
3.
How was your pain tolerance generally?
I've always had a really high pain tolerance.
So how old were you when you moved to Florida?
I was in 3rd grade, the beginning of 3rd grade, so I would say 8.
And how was that? How was the transition?
It was good. Yeah, I liked all the new animals. The lizards were really cool. I actually used to catch them and pinch them on my ears so they looked like earrings. And then Kyle and I, we loved going outside. We had like a little alligator in the back, and we named him Dzień dobry, which means hello. We did that for my mom.
And so I want to talk for a second now.
Alligator.
Your mom, first generation Polish.
Yes.
Right? And How early did she start you learning Polish?
Well, we grew up learning the language. We heard it from our family and whatnot. But she enrolled us in Polish school in Illinois. In Florida, we didn't continue with that. We just did Rosetta Stone because there was no Polish schools in Florida. But Kyle and I hated Polish school in Illinois, but we did it for her.
Pardon me for asking, but what does one do in Polish school?
So the teacher exclusively speaks in Polish, which is kind of hard because you don't really know what English words match up with the Polish words. We learned the alphabet, the numbers, and then different materials relating to reading and whatnot.
Would your mom speak Polish to you at home?
Yes.
How often?
I would say every day. I mean, I heard Polish from her, and I actually asked her to speak to me in Polish so I could get a good understanding of the language.
And you had relatives that spoke just about only Polish?
Yes, most of my mom's family only speaks Polish because they grew up in Chicago, which is one of the biggest ethnic areas for Polish people, so there's not really a big need to learn English.
Did you actually go to Poland at some point?
I did, yes. I went there for a month.
When? About? How old? Let me put it this way. Was this before or after you moved to Florida?
It was before I moved to Florida.
Tell us what you did there.
We visited about every city you could think of, all the cool cities. We saw like street artists doing cool things. We went to different shops. I actually bought a Polish doll there, which I was really proud of. We visited family, my mom's old house, and then my great-grandma, actually, I visited her.
Was your mom proud of her, of being Polish ancestry?
I would say so, yeah. She was very proud to be Polish.
Did you know about her story? Did she ever tell you how she ended up over in the United States?
I know that she moved over when she was a teenager, and she had to learn the English language. It was difficult at first, and a lot of people told her she's not going to make it into the profession that she wanted to be, but she proved them wrong.
Now, was this during, when, best of your knowledge, when she moved, strike that, did she grow up under communist Poland or free Poland?
I believe it was communist.
Did she tell you stories about that?
Not too many. Kyle and I were really young, so...
And is that still important to you, your Polish heritage?
Yes.
All right. And so I want to ask you about the neighborhood itself. Did you have friends there? Friends on or near your age?
Yes.
Several of them?
Yes.
And did you get along with them? I mean,
yeah, we got along. All of us did.
Where'd you go to school?
Well, for elementary school, I went to Taylor Ranch Elementary School.
Mm-hmm. And how was that?
I really liked it. The teachers were amazing, and it was very different than Illinois.
What was the difference?
Well, something cool about the schools, which is kind of normal for Florida, but very foreign to people who live in Illinois, is that the hallways are actually outdoors. So you walk outside to get to your classes, so it's nice just to see some daylight.
You can't really do that in Illinois.
No.
Not if you want to keep your toes. All right, so did you generally do well in strike? How did you do in school over this period of time, having moved to Florida?
I was a straight A student.
And you liked your teachers?
Yes, I loved them.
All right. So let's jump ahead then. What grade did you start at once you moved to Florida?
It was third grade.
Third grade. So you completed second grade?
In Illinois.
In Illinois, so it was third.
Mm-hmm. And I actually did a week of third grade in Illinois as well, but I did the remainder in Florida.
I was going to ask you. So
yeah.
They come down and visit you every once in a while?
Some of my friends, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, by this point, was your dad still in the fire department, or had he retired after all those years?
When we moved to Florida, my dad had retired.
And what did he want to do with his career, if you know?
Once he retired?
Yes.
I think he just wanted to take care of us, spend more time.
Did he have any dreams or aspirations, to the best of your knowledge, about working for FEMA or something else similar to what he had done in the fire department?
I've heard of that, but again, I was really young, so I didn't really know his career plans.
Well, let's jump then to July 3rd and July 4th of 2015. Now, how old would you have been then? This would be...
I would... 2015?
Yeah, so this will be... you've been in Florida, I think, yeah, you moved in 2014, so this would be 1 year after you moved.
I was 9 then.
All right. And then we can show 2528129. Now, what's happening here, although the jury, I think, has seen this?
Yeah, so my subdivision, we're really close, and the adults of the neighborhood, they organize special things for the holidays, and one of the biggest ones is the 4th of July parade. Everyone is welcome to hop on their bikes and ride around our circle. We just celebrate, and then afterwards we usually eat food.
Were you able to ride that bike well, or do you have any physical injuries at this point?
I know I had an injury to my ankle, but again, I was always pushing through, so here I don't really look like anything's wrong, but I hurt my ankle.
How soon before this was it that you hurt? Was this like a month before, a week before, or a day before?
I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure, but I know that it was pretty close. I just don't know for sure if it was like weeks.
Well, how bad was it? Was it a sprain or break?
I believe it was just a sprain.
Did you get any medical care for it at that time? Do you know?
I don't think so, no.
Did you even tell your folks? Is the question.
Yes, I did. My mom had wrapped it and everything.
But by the time of this photo, 2528129, it looks like you can pedal the bike.
Yes.
Well, right, and that's your brother next to you?
Yes.
And he got rid of that beard eventually? Just didn't work
Yeah.
All right, so what happened? Tell the jury what happened over that 4th of July weekend that changed your life.
I had a severe asthma attack, and it was one of the worst asthma attacks I've ever had. I was taken to Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital, and I think I stayed there for a couple of days, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, on the day that it happened, did they take you to the ER someplace else? Doctor's hospital?
Yes, my bad.
All right. So if it happened on the 4th then, was it a matter of a couple, 3 days before you went to Johns Hopkins?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Sure. About how many days after you were treated at doctors, and after you had this asthma attack, did you go to Johns Hopkins?
I don't know the number of days. All I know, I wasn't feeling well.
Okay. Well, let me show you 2529-5, and I'll represent that that was taken on or about the 7th or 8th. Actually, it's got it down there.
The 7th.
The 7th. All right, what's going on here?
I am in a bed at Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital.
All right. And did you walk into Johns Hopkins on this visit?
I believe I was able to walk in on this day, but when I left, I was having extreme complications with walking to the point where I had to be wheeled out in a wheelchair.
Well, the jury needs to know how this came on. You just wake up one morning and bang, you were in extreme pain? Or how did it start?
It wasn't like that. It was pretty gradual, but not in the sense that it took like 3 months until I had excruciating pain. It was day by day I noticed that there was a pain in my right leg that was just getting worse and worse.
So it started in your right leg?
Yes.
And did it stay in your right leg or move?
Unfortunately, it did move because I wasn't diagnosed for quite some time.
Did it move or start moving during this stay or after? In other words, during this, was it just in your right foot and leg at this point?
At this point, no. It had traveled to the left leg as well.
So about how long did that take for it to?
It would have been 3 days then.
And so there, they give you something. I know you were very young. Do you remember much about this day?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, they'll have those records. All right. So after this, now, did you go home or did you go to another hospital from there?
Well, after this day, I know I went home, but then I was at one point transferred to another hospital.
Was that the one back up in
Illinois?
Do you know if you went back to Johns Hopkins for a visit before you went to Lurie's or not?
I know I had been to Johns Hopkins a few times, but I don't. It's really hard for me to remember. I was 10. Every hospital was the same to me at that point.
Yeah, and the jury has the records. All right, so let's publish 252919 and tell us what's going on here.
This is after I got off the plane that I landed in Illinois. My dad had some of his old firefighter friends pick me up off the plane and transfer me in an ambulance. And then the chief, I believe, went to baggage claim and got my mom and I's luggage.
So his old firefighter buddies helped out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, looking at this photo here, it doesn't look like you're having much fun. I hate to put words in your mouth. But do you recall any of this?
I remember it was a very difficult plane ride. I mean, I was trying to be respectful to all the passengers, but when you're in pain, it's just so hard to stay quiet.
All right. Well, by this point, then, about how this is what, a few weeks or a month after the onset?
Yes.
What happened with the pain? Did it stay the same? Did it decrease? Did it increase?
It had increased.
And where did it increase to physically? Were there any new places or the same?
There was new places. At this point, it was at my midsection, and it was, I don't know for certain, but I know it did transfer to my arms at some point. I just don't know the specific date.
When you say now midsection, explain a little bit more. Are you talking about your tummy or your abdomen? Where?
Yes, I'm talking about my stomach.
At this point, had you started to have problems with any digestion or going to the bathroom, or was that later?
Yes, I had constipation issues, and we later found out that it corresponded to my diagnosis of CRPS.
And what happens there with those going to the bathroom issues?
Do you mean like how CRPS is connected to it, or just
physically, how did it manifest? What was the problem there for you?
I was just constipated, and when Miralax didn't work, we had to go to the hospital.
So did this start right off the bat once you had the pain in the midsection?
Yes. Yeah, I did have constipation.
Was it fairly consistent throughout your various stays at Johns Hopkins? You had this problem in the midsection where you'd get stopped up?
Yes.
All right. So do you recall what they did for you there at Lurie's?
I know that they suggested an intensive physical therapy program, but they also missed the diagnosis of CRPS.
All right. So they didn't, at this point, did you know what was really causing your pain?
No one knew.
And what was the effect on your mom and dad not knowing? Here you are a month or so after it manifested, it came on. How did it affect them?
Well, my parents were extremely worried, and in turn that made me more anxious because as a kid you look up to your parents for the answers. And then when they look up to the doctors for the answers and they don't even have them, you're just so unbelievably anxious.
So you came back home then, I guess?
Yes.
And did you go to another hospital after that?
Yes, my parents had taken the suggestion from the Illinois hospital, and we went to an intensive physical therapy program at Tampa General.
About how long was it from Lurie's, the hospital in Chicago, to when you went up to Tampa General?
I'm sorry, I don't know the dates.
The same summer period? Or?
Oh, yeah, it was the same. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And how was your pain doing at this point?
My pain was still pretty bad.
Had anybody approached you at this point at Lurie's and said anything about this just being all in your head, or was that, did you know anything about that, or was this just something you found out later?
I found that out later.
And was it in your head?
No.
Okay. So let's talk about and publish 2529-23. Okay, and where is this?
This is in the PT room at Tampa General Hospital.
And what are they having you do there?
This is a machine that is intended to strengthen your arm muscles.
Okay. How many hours of PT were you doing a day there at this time, if you recall?
I don't know the number of hours, but I remember Marissa, the physical therapist, because it's an intensive program, the PT, I believe, was like 2 to 3 times a day.
And what did they tell you about why you had to do the PT?
Well, none of the doctors knew what was wrong with me at the time, so they just assumed that strengthening my muscles would maybe help get me to walking again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, this face you're making here, does that fairly and accurately represent you in pain?
Yes, I'm trying to smile here, but unfortunately I was still experiencing a lot of pain.
Well, had it traveled up to your legs? To your arms at this point? Or
At this point, yes.
had you manifested any other symptoms? Now, looking back, not that you knew at the time, during this stay, if you know.
I can't say for certain, but I believe I started seeing some lesions, and I was very sensitive to touch. I know that for sure.
So how was PT for you at Tampa General?
It was very challenging. It's excruciating.
Mm-hmm. And was Miss Marissa, who testified here, nice to you?
She was lovely, yes.
All right. And were you outpatient or inpatient?
I was inpatient, yeah.
So you stayed there?
Yes.
And you remember for about how long?
A month.
All right. Now here, were your parents allowed to stay with you?
Yes.
All right. And let's then publish 2529-34 and ask about this. All right. Now, is that Marissa there in the green?
In the green, that is Marissa.
And what's that on your feet? What are you doing there?
So that machine is for pedaling, again, just in hopes of strengthening my leg muscles.
Now, at this point, a couple months maybe past when it came on, it looks like you still have some pretty good muscle mass in your legs.
Yes, and then I don't know if you could really tell, but you could see that my dystonia is starting to get worse.
Uh-huh. That means your toes pointing in?
Correct.
Tell the jury about that. There were allegations that you somehow made this up. Could you have any control over your feet when they started to go into that position?
I had absolutely no control over that.
What did it feel like when they began turning in?
It was extremely painful, and it was like tense, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right. Who's that person behind you?
That is Bonnie Rice. I kind of call her like the Kathy Beatty of Tampa General. She was a nurse, but overstepped in many ways.
So she followed you around?
Yes.
And she wasn't quite as nice as Marissa?
Definitely not.
Mm-hmm. Why did they have a nurse following you around everywhere? She knows.
Sustain when she re-asked.
What, if anything, do you know about why Bonnie Rice was following you around here?
I had the understanding that Bonnie Rice, even though she was a nurse, she believed that I had either conversion disorder, so I was like making out my disease. I don't know what child would want to pretend not being able to walk and not being able to play with their friends, but she drew that conclusion. She also had some problems with my mom because she expressed these concerns to my mom. My mom knew I was not making this up. She knew her daughter.
So wherever you went, there was Bonnie Rice?
Yes.
So eventually, and at this point, were you completely in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Okay. And so then, did you even have to go to school? Once you got out of there, did you have to go to school in a wheelchair?
I did visit my school in a wheelchair for the lemonade stand fundraiser they had for me.
Okay, let's publish 2529-39. We'll come back to TGH. Now, what's this?
This is the school bus that had the lift so I could be brought to school in my wheelchair.
Okay, and this, it looks like it's September 21st, 2015. Was this after TGH?
To my understanding, yes, I believe so.
Okay, well, let's, or maybe it was before. Let's go back to TGH. Now let's publish 2529-41. Now what's that?
That is a CRPS lesion.
Right. And tell the jury how do you identify that?
Well, at the time I still didn't know I had CRPS. Nobody did. So I started getting these open sores on my body, and I was very concerned because it's something I've never had before. And they're very painful, especially when you touch them.
Mm-hmm. And did they hurt?
Extremely, yes.
To the touch, or just whatever you did?
When you put touch on them, it amplified the pain.
And so let's look at 2661. Now this is a video, and I'm going to ask you after this, what's significant about, first, was this after TGH?
I don't know what day, oh.
All right. So after this, I want you to tell the jury what's significant about this, and the date on it, I believe, is September, sometime September of, again, 2015. I only counted one note off. Now, to those that, I guess, play piano or not, what was happening with your legs?
Okay, so to people, you probably don't notice this if you're not a pianist, but there is a distinct sound when the pedals are being pressed. At this point, I was not able to press the pedals even though the song called for it. So I had severe dystonia, and that limited me from being able to do that.
Were you, obviously you were able to play piano, were you able to do any of the activities that you had before? Or?
Other than piano, I was not, because all of them required me to stand and walk and jump.
Okay. Now, here we are in September of 2015, and you're in a wheelchair. What other signs, what if any other signs of, or symptoms of CRPS did you note at this time?
At this time, I was twitching. I had the allodynia, dystonia, lesions. There was the temperature changes in my limbs that we started to notice.
Tell the jury about the temperature changes. Why is this any different than just, being chilly or it being too hot or too cold? Turn up the air conditioning or down the air conditioning.
Because it happens at random times and it's not influenced by external temperature. It's all internally happening. And then another thing that was weird that started happening is I would sweat in different areas, but not all over my body.
What areas, if you recall?
The back of my neck, and then lower back. I don't remember all of them, but those are the two that I specifically remember.
And were these dependent on whether you were cold or the exterior temperatures at all?
No, they were not dependent on the external environment.
Well, what else? Anything with the ears or eyes?
I did have tinnitus, which is just ringing in the ears, which I've never had before. And then with my eyesight, at this point, it was okay.
All right. And, okay, so your eyes are all right. So, through this period of time, did you get to see Dr. Wassenauer?
Yes, I did.
And He couldn't figure out what was wrong yet either?
No.
All right. So then did there come a time when somebody did know what was wrong with you?
Yes.
All right. If we could publish a video of 2666, and then you'll tell us if about this in a moment.
That doesn't feel good when I touch your legs, right? Or your tummy, when I touch your tummy, that feels good, right?
All right. Now, were you in distress there?
Yes.
Was that the kind of reaction you would get sometimes when people would touch your legs?
Yes, it's just from the allodynia.
All right. So the jury wants to know if you have this effect when someone touches your legs, how are you able to deal with blankets being pulled over, clothes being put on, any of the usual things you do if you have this reaction?
A common misconception with CRPS is that all of the symptoms from the beginning to whenever you have it, they're constant and then they stay that way. But in reality, symptoms can change on a day-to-day basis.
So sometimes you, like we saw in the video, you'd have the blankets off of you and sometimes on?
Yes.
Depending on the day?
Correct.
Was this frustrating?
It was. It was annoying to constantly have to tell people to help you with certain things, especially with the temperature changes, because you want to be comfortable, and here you're asking people to change either this thermostat or help you with blankets or help you change into something else, and you know you can't do it for yourself, so you just feel like an inconvenience.
Yeah. Have you always been a pretty independent person?
Oh, yes.
Did your mom want you to be that way, independent, be able to handle things on your own?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how, just if you know, you got to Dr. Kirkpatrick from the prior doctors you'd seen?
I do know the story.
Okay. Tell the jury how you ended up at Dr. Kirkpatrick's, and then we'll show, I think we can bring up a photo, 2529-42, and if you could just tell them what happened, how you got there.
Yes, so my mom was an infusion nurse during this entire time, and while I was at Tampa General, Bonnie Rice, the nurse I told you about earlier, she had a phone conversation with my mom, and that's when Bonnie said that she thinks that I was making up my condition. My mom told her no, there's no way. My mom listed all the symptoms I was having and said, how can she be faking these? My mom went back into the room to treat her patient, and he said, I'm sorry, you know, I
respectfully object to the hearsay.
What did she say next?
Objection to hearsay.
Who said next?
What did, scratch all that. How did you know that Dr. Kirkpatrick might have some answers without telling us what somebody told you?
I know from the person who told us. I mean, that's how we found him.
Oh, sure.
So,
and who suggested it?
It was the patient of my mom, Dave, because he has a daughter with CRPS.
So a dad of another girl that had CRPS?
Yes.
Suggested?
Correct.
Now, so you went in and saw Dr. Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
And tell the jury what he did in order to determine what was going on.
He had a very lengthy examination of me, and it included multiple different tests, and he took all the data, and then he said that my symptoms and my condition aligns with CRPS.
Did he explain about the Budapest criteria?
He did.
Mm-hmm. And so what types of symptoms did you show in front of him, if you recall?
I believe he did a temperature test of my extremities, He noted certain lesions I had. You could see one on my right arm. And then I had extreme sensitivity to light. It's just with CRPS, the nerves are hypersensitive. I also had dystonia at the time. I believe at that appointment there was no there was no signs of sweating, abnormal sweating, but again, that's just every day is different.
What's up with the sunglasses? Why the sunglasses?
I was sensitive to light, and that's just because the nerves in CRPS patients are hypersensitive. Mm-hmm. And then another, obviously the big giveaway that I had CRPS was the burning pain.
Mm-hmm. And the feet turning in there, that's the dystonia he noted?
Yes.
And about how long did he have you over there to examine you?
It was quite a few hours. It wasn't like in and out like other doctors' offices.
Mm-hmm. And did Dr. Kirkpatrick keep you in the mix about what he was doing and why?
Yes, he always told me what he was going to be doing, the certain tests. He asked me if I was comfortable, uncomfortable. He listened to me.
All right, now this photograph is dated, I think, down there in the bottom left. It's October 5th, 2015. Had you seen him before this visit?
I'm not sure what day I saw him, but I know that he had an examination of me, and then the next time I went in, after trying pool therapy, we tried out the ketamine infusion.
Okay, so important to know, did Dr. K immediately go to ketamine, or did he have another therapy he thought might work?
No, he wanted me to try the non-medicative route first, which we did.
Mm-hmm. And what was that non-medicated route?
It was warm water therapy. My dad had bought a system to heat our pool, so I think like 10 out of 12 months of the year it's warm. Mm-hmm. So I was able to practice my therapy in there and try to gain some strength.
And did you try hard at that?
Yes.
How'd it do?
It helped a little bit, but it was not the improvement that Dr. Kirkpatrick was hoping for, or any of us were hoping for. So he decided it would be best to try the ketamine infusion.
In terms of physical therapy now, well, let's talk about what you had already been through at the different places at Tampa General and so forth. Had you had physical therapy so far?
Yes.
By this point? Had you had, I guess, occupational therapy, upper body stuff?
Yes.
And had you had some psychological evaluations?
Yes, I had counseling. Mm-hmm.
And did you then have warm water therapy?
Yes.
And what kind of meds had they put you on up to this point of the ketamine? What were you taking?
I'm going to be honest, I was, again, like really young, so I didn't ask what medication I was taking. But it's my understanding I did try some prescribed opioids from my doctors.
Remember anything about whether they worked or not?
They didn't.
All right. So you'd been through physical therapy, occupational therapy, psychotherapy, warm water therapy, opioids. Now you were trying ketamine?
Yes.
Tell the jury how that went.
The ketamine infusion?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
have we put in 252942? Is that already up? All right. Let's go ahead and explain what.
So the ketamine infusions were very different than anything I had tried previously. It's this like really small room with a bunch of different equipment and then a nice soft bed. And then super adjacent to the bed is like a little TV so the patients can watch whatever they want while they're getting the infusion. I slept for most of it, so I don't really know the duration of the whole treatment, but I know it was over the course of a few days.
Well, you said you slept during most of it. How were you sleeping at night at this point?
Oh, I was not sleeping. It's very difficult to sleep when, you're having excruciating pain and pain that you've never felt before.
And so, even with your high pain tolerance, describe for the jury as best you can so they can understand what it's like, the CRPS pain.
How I describe it to people who don't have CRPS, it's like I was born with gasoline deep within my body, And some incident, whether it was that sprained ankle or the severe asthma attack, was like a match and acted as a catalyst that just set my body on fire, and I have to live with this burning pain.
All right. And so how many of these, strike that, during the time at TGH, did you also have physical appliances applied to your legs and ankles to see if that would straighten out some of your symptoms?
Unfortunately, yes.
Tell the jury about those, in addition to physical therapy, occupational therapy, psychotherapy, warm water therapy, opioids.
So with CRPS, you have to be very careful with the type of therapies that you provide. And with physical therapy, you have to be especially gentle. Now, I was put into an intensive physical therapy program, and again, at the time, we didn't know I had CRPS, so we didn't know that it was actually doing more damage than good. One of the doctors noticed that my dystonia was getting extremely severe as my stay went on. He suggested that he breaks my feet, have a corrective surgery to straighten them out.
Let's publish 2529-35.
And that was Dr. Kornberg. I remember his name.
Okay. All right. So are those the corrective boots you wore?
Yes, so this was like part one of his plan. He wanted to see if the boots would straighten my feet out, and if it didn't, he was going to resort immediately to surgery.
Now, I can't quite see your mouth there, but what are you feeling there in that facial gesture?
Forcing my feet to immediately go from, completely turned in to straight was an awful idea. It was extremely painful. I remember just crying and crying.
And did your mom want you to try it, though?
She did. She knew it was hurting me, but again, at the time, we didn't know what was going on, so she was just listening to the doctors.
So the jury knows, did your mom ever push you to do any of these treatments, or was this something that you wanted to try too?
I also wanted to try it because I had my trust invested in the doctors. I thought they knew what they were doing.
Through this entire period of time, were you ever pushed by your parents to continue a therapy that wasn't beneficial, or strike that?
Scratch all that.
Were you ever pressured to do any types of therapies or things that maybe you already knew didn't work?
No, if we figured out that it didn't work, they were okay with listening to me and not going on with it.
Okay. So how many of the ketamine therapies do you recall having for this with Dr. K?
So after Tampa General, I had, I believe, one, not like a single treatment, but because it spanned over a couple of days, but itself, it was just like one session, if that makes sense.
Okay. Now, at this point, if you can recall, I think we have a video, I don't know if we'll see it, but can you show the jury about how high you could raise your arm going into all of this? Can you demonstrate about how high you could get it?
Yeah, at Dr. K's, I believe I told you about the examination, and part of his examination was like a physical range of motion examination. I was only able to lift my hand to about ear level, nothing past that because of the pain.
All right, and so then after that, how did the ketamine therapies do for you, the ones at Dr. K's?
At Dr. Kirkpatrick's office, the ketamine definitely helped. It had helped me more than any of the previous therapies I've tried. So I wanted to stick with that in addition to trying the warm water therapy and continuing going to counseling. But ultimately, Kirkpatrick noticed that his treatments weren't going to get me to where he wanted me to be. So he brought on another doctor.
Okay. And were you continuing the warm water therapies when you were doing the ketamine?
Yes.
How did the ketamine affect your ability to do physical therapy?
Well, obviously I couldn't do it immediately after. It's a new drug, and I did have some side effects. I was a little bit confused coming out of it, but the confusion doesn't last long. By the end of the day, I was talking in my normal self.
But Could you do more motor physical therapy using the ketamine as without it?
Yes.
And why was that?
It's just because it alleviates my pain. It's, I mean, for the first time, something is actually helping lower that burning pain. So I wanted to try even harder in physical therapy.
How did it feel finally having a diagnosis that made sense?
Obviously, the diagnosis itself isn't great, but it's nice knowing what it is so you can develop a course of action to try to tackle it.
Did your mom, to the best of what you remember, start researching what CRPS was?
Yes. So my mom, she was an infusion nurse, and she's pretty familiar in the medical field. So naturally, she wanted to learn all about it herself.
In terms of the medical analysis, if you will, for you, between your mom and dad, who would take the lead?
My mom did because that was her field of expertise.
Okay. So your mom was kind of your home physician or home nurse?
Sure, yeah.
And she was teaching you Polish?
Mm-hmm.
And would she take you to different events and places, drive you places?
Yes.
And was she helping you with your piano?
Yes.
And was she helping you through ballet?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a good relationship with your mom through this?
Yes, I always did.
How about the fact that she wanted you to try some of these therapies that were hurting you? Did that harm the relationship? Or?
No, it didn't, because again, you have to remember, before we went to Dr. Kirkpatrick, we didn't know what it was. So I think her willingness to try everything was actually a sign of love.
How did your dad react to finally hearing that this was CRPS? I mean, mixed? Or?
I mean, no parent wants their kid to have like a chronic illness. So they were sad, but I think at the same time they were just happy to hear a definite answer.
And how did they react to you telling them that after these ketamine infusions that it helped?
They were so happy to know that, you know, something was helping. Finally, like one thing we try is actually doing something for me.
And up to this point, could they do anything for you when you would have, when the pain would be at its worst? Was there anything they could give you or do for you that would affect it?
Before this, no, not at all. I mean, I remember laying in bed and just crying, and I have this memory of my dad. He took my monkey. You'll probably see it in a bunch of pictures, but he would take the hand of the monkey and rub it on my forehead until I fell asleep.
Mm-hmm. And were you sleeping, tell us the sleeping arrangement once this got really bad.
Once my pain was to the point where I was just crying and screaming throughout the entire night, the way our house is arranged, first off, is I'm on the opposite side of the house, and then there's my brother's room right across from mine, and then the other side is my parents' room. So I couldn't walk to go and tell them when I needed help going to use the restroom, so we implemented a walkie-talkie system. It sounds silly, but I didn't have a phone at the time, so I would talk back and forth to them so they could help me in the middle of the night.
Could you tell how it was affecting your folks that their little girl was moaning all night in pain?
I try to keep it in as much as possible because
did they appear to be under some stress?
Yeah, they were definitely stressed out. And
how about Kyle?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we used to play together all the time.
Were you and your brother close?
Yes, we were. Even when we were really little, we had a very good relationship.
It's like you're the big sister?
Yeah.
Okay. How far apart are you two?
We are 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then we do have an older sister as well.
That's right, Corrine?
Yes.
How much older is she?
I think she's 16 years older than me.
Okay. And were you close? Are you close with her?
Yes.
How was Kyle reacting to hearing his big sister in this kind of pain?
Well, my parents tried to keep him out of the loop when we didn't know what it was, because you don't want to worry your other child as well. But obviously he knew something was wrong. I wasn't walking, I wasn't playing, wasn't laughing as much. I didn't go outside because I couldn't. So I believe he tried his best to distract himself with the neighborhood kids playing football and whatnot. But he was heartbroken.
Yeah. And so for you, was it difficult to see the other kids outside playing and you in the wheelchair?
Yes, very much so. There's actually one day I was invited to the YMCA, which is where I used to do gymnastics. And I was wheelchair bound at the time, and I never went back to watch them because it just ate me up.
Do you want to get out of that wheelchair?
Yes.
All right. So now, we've tried this, and how long approximately would Dr. Kirkpatrick's ketamine therapy benefits last? After you stopped, how long would it be before the pain would come back?
I would say, I don't know the exact days. I really didn't keep track as a kid, but I believe like maybe a week and a couple of days, but it just didn't last as long as we hoped.
Mm-hmm. All right, so did he make a referral then to try a different approach?
Yes, he did.
And where did he send you?
He called Dr. Cantu. He's a doctor in Monterrey, Mexico, and I went there.
You remember that?
I do, yes.
Do you remember the hotel you stayed at?
I do. I remember pretty much everything about the trip except the 5 days when I was sleeping.
Okay. And so, leading up to it now, did you have some conferences with Dr. Cantu about what was going to happen?
Actually, I had a discussion with Dr. Kirkpatrick first. He explained some of the risks associated with the ketamine-induced sedation, the prolonged sedation. And then when I went to Monterrey, Mexico, I was then again told about the risks.
And how did it strike you? I know you were only, had you turned 10, I guess, by this point?
Yes, in December.
Yeah, because your birthday is when in?
December 10th.
Okay. So what was your reaction, from what you recall on your age at that time, to hearing that there were some possible complications, some possible risks with this procedure?
Well, I was presented with the worst case scenario, which was a 50% chance of death. Even though that's not completely true, they always give you the worst case scenario just in case something bad happens.
Had you heard that with other medications and things?
Yeah, I mean, every medication has like a ton of side effects. But you know it's bad when like a 10-year-old is willing to take that risk. I mean, that's how bad my pain was.
So the hotel you were staying at, was it fairly close to Dr. Cantu's office?
Yes.
And so then you, at this point, were displaying pretty prominent CRPS symptoms?
Yes.
That's published 2529-58. Record reflect, this is November 18th, 2015 in Mexico. All right. Tell the jury what's going on here. What are these?
These are CRPS lesions.
Mm-hmm. And what's the deal between the round one and the one that's a line? Although if we can we go any closer on that to see?
So to the naked eye, it kind of looks like a scratch, but in reality with CRPS, sometimes these lesions do present like that, but they're actually connected.
All right, and so down there, right above the green band, I mean, is that another lesion there right off of it?
Yes.
Okay. And were you seeing more of these?
I was.
And what was your worry? I mean, had you, I realize you were only 10, had you read up on CRPS?
I personally did not read up on it, but I knew other people who had it.
Tell us how you knew other people who had it.
So there's actually this, well, she used to live in Mexico. She had CRPS really bad. She had it when she was a kid. She went into remission for a couple of years, actually, and then she got bit.
Your Honor, I apologize for interrupting the current discussion. I do object to this line of questioning.
About her having a friend? May I ask her about the friend?
Let's move on to the next question.
So you had friends down there?
Yeah.
And had it come to your attention from various sources that CRPS could take your life?
Yes.
Had you seen examples of that?
Unfortunately.
Okay. And had you seen examples of it going into remission and then coming back?
Yes.
So let's publish 2529-60. The record reflects this is in Mexico, November 19th, 2015. More examples of lesions, is that right?
Correct.
And where are these?
These are on my ankle.
Do you have any lesions right now?
I do have a few on my leg. My right leg, that is.
All right. So then let's publish 2529-61, looking at symptoms. Now here, although obviously you, were you unconscious at this point in this picture?
Yes.
And why is that significant in light of different allegations people were making against you at Johns Hopkins?
Well, because when you're unconscious, you don't really have control over your body movements. So my feet still being in that fixed position, like pointing inwards, shows that I was not making this up.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so you, knowing about the risk of you and your parents, did you talk about whether you wanted to do this?
Yes, they specifically asked me, and I know I was really young at the time, but they gave me pretty much full authority of whether I was going to go through with the prolonged sedation or not.
Have you always been pretty mature for your age?
Yes.
I mean, at least in these ways, analysis and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You were aware of your body and how to take care of yourself.
Yes.
I object to the leading, Your Honor.
Overruled.
All right, so then let's publish 2529-69, and I want you to tell the jury a little bit about your relationship with Dr. Cantu. Is that Dr. Cantu who came and testified here?
Yes. He is so nice. He was, in addition to Dr. Kirkpatrick, he was one of the very few doctors who really listened to me.
Mm-hmm. And did he speak mostly English to you or Spanish?
To us, he spoke English, but when we couldn't really communicate with him because we didn't know Spanish, my friend, the one with CRPS, Jessica, her mom, she spoke both language fluently, so she helped translate certain things for us.
Okay. And did Dr. Cantu tell you about this procedure that you were going to go into?
Yes.
Okay. Now, behind you there is a photograph of another patient, I think, next to you?
Yes.
Was that another CRPS patient?
Yeah, Your Honor, we objection in the HIPAA violation.
There's no, she's not in the picture.
In multiple bases about talking about other
Sustained.
Patients.
All right. So, did Dr. Cantu then go over with you the specifics of how this is going to go and any problems you might have from it?
Yes, he was very in-depth.
And so you underwent the procedure. I want you to tell the jury what the procedure was like.
Well, I met with the team of people who are going to be taking care of me prior to going under. I talked to all of them, and they explained what their role was in my care. So I trusted them, and I understood what they were going to be doing. I was told about the potential side effects, what it might be like when I'm coming out of it. I was explained the risks. I got a full in-depth picture view of what was going to happen.
Now, was your mom aware of other CRPS, either studies or real people, where CRPS had gone into remission and then come back to cause their death?
Yes. Speculation, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Yes.
All right. So, you, how long does the procedure last? This first procedure?
I believe it was 7 or 5 days. I think it was 5 or 7. I think it was like 5 days of the actual medication of ketamine, but then there was 2 days for me to slowly come out of it.
Mm-hmm. And coming out of it, how were you doing?
It was a little scary. I had the tube taken out of my throat and I was coughing. I was a little confused about what was happening, but that all went away.
How long did it take for those symptoms, or side effects, if you will, to subside?
I believe it was a day until I felt completely myself, but by the evening I was somewhat okay.
And when you say somewhat okay, you've just been through this procedure. How did you feel, Maya?
Oh, like, as part of me, like, physically, I was feeling incredible. I actually asked Dr. Cantu, I'm like, hey, could I try walking? And he told me I couldn't do that because I could potentially, go back to where I was. He said, just baby steps.
Epic exposure.
So
Welcome to the gallery.
Enough to think
Thank
you
you
could
so
get out
much.
of that wheelchair?
I wanted to try.
Okay. All right. And this procedure was under general anesthesia, is that right? So
Correct.
you were out.
Yes.
So you don't remember anything?
I don't remember anything at all.
Now, did Dr. Cantu recommend that you have a booster soon thereafter?
Yes.
And what did you understand why the booster was necessary?
I know that he had performed this procedure many other times, and it's pretty standard practice for a patient to return and get the booster just to help.
Okay. And that procedure, now, was that back completely under, intubated and completely under, or was that like the times you had it at Dr. Kirkpatrick's?
No, it was very similar to Dr. Kirkpatrick's.
So you were not unconscious in any way?
No.
And about how long did those procedures take?
Those were also a couple of hours. I remember taking a little nap, but again, it's just because of the sleeping problem.
Between the two procedures, did any of the symptoms come back briefly or to the point where you're concerned? Or
I honestly don't remember. I know I was doing very well after the prolonged sedation. I think, again, it's just like pretty standard to get a booster.
Sure. All right. And then you headed home.
Yes.
So how did you do that first 30 days after this long-term ketamine procedure? Tell the jury what happened physically in terms of the pain and all of these symptoms and effects that you had from CRPS.
I felt significantly better. My dystonia was much better. My feet were almost straight on certain days. And just in generally, they were like significantly like better. I mean, just straighter and everything. My pain was much lower. And then my lesions had almost completely healed.
And we'll see some photos on that. Your Honor, I'm going to break into another section. Do you want me to continue on, or do you want to?
I think we keep going.
Sure. All right. Returning from Mexico.
Little Miss, thank you so much.
Let's
9
look
months.
at 2530-3. And so this is, it looks like, December 24th, Christmas Eve?
Yes.
2015. So were you out of the wheelchair?
No, I was still in the wheelchair, but if you look at my arm, the lesions are a lot less prevalent, and then my feet generally look a lot straighter. There was some dystonia still.
Can we focus in on the feet there? Okay. All right, there's a couple of black dots there. What are those?
Those are just healing lesions.
All right, but they were not active?
No.
All right. And I notice you're smiling here. Is that simply because of the Mickey Mouse ears, or are there other reasons?
No, I was just a happier kid in general because my pain was, I had some relief finally. And my mom and my brother were not in Mexico for the booster treatment, so I was happy to see them.
Okay. Let's then publish 2530-6 and ask you whether you were getting strong enough to do some energetic playing in the pool.
Most definitely. So at Dr. Kirkpatrick's pre-coma, I said that I could lift my arm like ear level, and now it was above my head, and I could handle my brother touching my legs here, and my feet are much straighter.
And that's December 28th, almost the end of the year.
Yep.
Okay. Then let's publish 2686. See how you're doing even a week later.
Cute girls. Really cute. Got it.
Who's that? Was that your friend from Chicago?
Yes. She had come to visit me, and it was perfect timing because I was feeling a lot better than I had been.
Okay. And could you have moved your arms and legs like that before you had the infusions in Mexico?
There are some days where you could see some movement, but nothing like that.
All right. And then published 2530-27. Did the improvements continue for you?
Yes.
All right. And again, I see you're holding up your arms. Could you hold your arms up that high before the Mexico treatments?
No, I could not.
And I noticed your legs there sitting sort of cross-legged. Did you sit cross-legged a lot?
Yeah, that was pretty typical for me. I don't know why, but when I was sitting in that position, there was some difference in my pain. It wasn't as dramatic as I would have liked it to be, but generally it made my pain less.
Was it the most comfortable position for you on sitting on things?
By far.
Okay. That eased some of the dystonia?
Yes.
All right. So let's then look at how you continue to improve. And did you continue to improve through the spring and summer?
Yes.
Okay. Let's publish 2691. And as we're doing it here now, your family likes to scuba dive?
Yes, that's a common
so we can
thing in our
see
family.
what's going on now. And what's that on your wrist?
That is a bracelet that my cousin Matthew Klein gifted to me.
Mm-hmm.
It says never give up, and that kind of became my motto.
Okay. Okay. All right, and the date on that, the record reflect is April 30th, 2016. So you try to spend a lot of time in the pool?
Yes.
To strengthen up?
Mm-hmm.
With the idea? And did your dad work with you a lot on the physical therapy?
Yes, kind of my whole family did. That was kind of cool about it because it was also like family bonding time.
Mm-hmm. All right, published 2530-41. And this is May. Now we're into May. Okay. And you got your legs, one leg crossed, sitting on the other. You're able to do that, obviously.
Yes.
And you're obviously capable of eating gummy bears.
Yeah.
All right. And did your brother feel better now seeing you able to do some things with him?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, how did you get around on the floor? Did you have to get in your wheelchair to move from one spot to the other, or were you able to crawl, or what?
I was able to crawl a little bit, but I also used my wheelchair to get from like place to place if it was like longer distances and if the floor wasn't comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Another significant thing was I was actually able to push my own wheelchair, so I had some independence in my movements.
Mm-hmm. And was that a happy-making thing for you?
Oh yeah, I was extremely happy.
Gave you a little more freedom?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So through the course of the summer there, were you getting stronger and feeling better?
Yes.
All right. Was it always so, or did you have some ups and downs?
Ups and downs, which is kind of expected with CRPS.
All right. And so let's see. I would like to publish. Who back then was your favorite singer?
I loved Meghan Trainor.
Okay.
Oh,
let's talk
Don't
about
do
how
this
you were
to me.
doing in July of
We're gonna have to mute this
2016.
one.
If we'll play the clip, just 3600-47. It's a brief clip from, and you can tell us what you're doing here in a moment.
Meghan Trainor likes to hit me with copyright strikes. Here comes a mute. I'll sing it instead. Ready?
At this point, did you have limited use of? Oh, here you go.
Just move your body. Oh, hey, oh. I don't know.
My apologies, counsel. What's the date of this, please?
This is July 28th, 2016. Yes, July 28th. No, let's see. The clip is...
I feel better when I'm dancing. Oh, better when I'm dancing. Hey. There you go.
No.
Were you hoping to get out of that wheelchair?
Yes, I was on the track to be getting out.
All right. And so when you had some periods where the pain would come back, was it as strong or was it less than what you'd expected, what you had experienced before the Mexico infusions?
It was less than what I experienced previous to the prolonged sedation in Mexico.
All right. But did you continue the ketamine program through the summer?
I did because it's what worked for me.
Okay. And so you would go back for sets when you needed them, and there were a lot of them at some points and none at others?
Right. It just depended on my condition.
Okay. Did you try with your folks, did you try other types of treatments?
Yes. So even though we established that the ketamine had worked for me, we learned about the hyperbaric chamber, so we gave that a shot.
And
thanks, Thomas. Happy Monday to you and your family.
How is that supposed to work? If you know, if you don't know, it's okay. But
I really don't understand the whole thing, but I did try it.
But you were in a high oxygen environment for a while. Is that
that's all I know. I don't really know everything else.
You know why you wanted to, your folks and you wanted to try something different than the ketamine infusions?
Well, they were always open to new therapies. They weren't just exclusively going to use ketamine. So when they heard about some success with the hyperbaric oxygen treatment, they gave it a go.
And did they want you to try things that did not involve a medication?
Yes.
And so what about IVIG, the immune system stimulant? Did you try that?
I did try that, yes.
Briefly. And did that do any good?
I don't have much recollection of it being like substantial, but I know that it did help me because I was willing to do it again.
Okay. Now, Maya, you were, as the record reflects, oh, okay, let's see. Yeah. I want to show how you were doing then in June and July of 2016. And now that we get into the summer, I published 2530-46.
Yes, so here you could see my feet flat on the ground, which was a huge step for me. I was very proud of myself. I'm holding myself up with my upper body strength, and my dystonia is not present in this picture. I was really close to walking.
And were you looking forward to walking?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, DSN, for the super sticker.
Published 2530-50. Was it important for you to be working your upper body here?
Yeah, so my goal was to strengthen my upper body enough to the point where I could hold myself up with a walker if my legs gave out at certain times, so I was still safe and would prevent injury. Even though it was painful, I pushed myself.
Okay. Now, continuing then through the summer, were you looking forward to getting out of that wheelchair?
Yes.
Tell the jury by August of 2016, did you believe you were going to be able to get out of that wheelchair?
By the fall, I truly believed it, and I wanted to go back to school, walking.
Now, did there come a time when you, all right, let's play 2659. Did your mom encourage you through these things?
Okay, so there's guitar there, but we're listening to radio instead.
Continue, and then they'll get that straight. And that was your mom encouraging you on the walker, if we get to it. And my next question is, were your mom and dad encouraging you through this period of time to get better, get out of that wheelchair?
Always. They always were very positive around me.
So driving you to these different appointments and things, was that a pretty significant time commitment for them?
It was, and it was very difficult, but again, they wanted what was best for their children, and that included, helping me with my treatments.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, and we'll get back to that one video in a moment.
It's 2695.
All right. Then let's do 2695.
Okay, I might have to mute this one as well. Depends how closely they play the sound. I mean, if it's played poorly, usually it doesn't hit me with a copyright violation.
That's better. I love you.
Oh, this has been
Now go down slowly.
Now, what's the goal there with the legs?
Go down slowly. Good job.
Sorry, I did not hear your question.
Good job. Very good. Excellent.
Mr. Anderson, I apologize again. Can you please tell me the date of the video?
July 28th, 2016.
These are not objections, they're just clarification
All
requests.
right. So the goal here by this point, the end of July, was that by the middle of fall you were going to be out?
Yes.
All right. And then did there come a time when you wanted to avoid going back to school in a wheelchair?
Yeah, I was the only kid in a wheelchair, so I didn't want to be that kid going back to school.
How were you going? What was homebound?
So that's a program where the teachers will come to your house and actually give you instruction.
Okay. And did you like that? Did you like your teachers?
I love my teachers. I mean, the fact that they were willing to take time out of their day to come and teach me, it meant everything.
And could they work around your treatment schedules?
They did, yes.
What was your concern with going back to school insofar as your treatment schedules?
Well, I would be missing instruction. I probably would miss assignments and my grades would drop. And I really didn't want to jeopardize my education, so we tried a different route.
Okay. And did it trouble you quite a bit then that you were going to have to go back to school in your wheelchair?
Yes.
And what did that lead to?
It unfortunately led to a relapse.
All right. Well, this was your first relapse since Mexico? Or
Yes.
Your first relapse ever, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you go back to Dr. Hanna to complete more of a ketamine infusion set?
Yes, I did. We went to him because it's less expensive compared to Kirkpatrick.
Okay. And through the course of this now, what were the symptoms that you were displaying insofar as your stomach? And remember we talked about before the intestines and so forth. What was going on in this relapse? Or strike it. What had returned?
So with CRPS, it's pretty well known that it could affect some organs, and for me, it affected my large intestine, so I often got pretty constipated. It's because both, CRPS, it's an attack on the sympathetic nervous system, which also affects the digestive system, so I was pretty constipated regularly.
And from time to time, did you end up in an ER for the constipation that resulted?
Yes, when our remedies at home, like Miralax, didn't work, we were forced to go to the ER.
To get cleaned out. Gross.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
yes. Okay. And then let's publish 2530-61. And for the record, this is October 6, 2016. How are you sleeping at this time, by the way? At home?
Wasn't sleeping very well at night, so I took the opportunity whenever I was tired to sleep. This is during one of my infusions at Dr. Hanna's, and I'm taking a nap.
Were these infusions painful for you by this point, or?
No, the infusions themselves were not painful.
Okay. All right, then.
Mr. Anderson, can I see the attorneys for a moment?
Ooh. This is a judge-called sidebar. We're not sure why. I'm not sure about that picture. I've never seen that picture before, and I'm wondering if that was on the approved list. So yes, we Meghan Trainor, great singer, has some great songs. They get stuck in your head. Unfortunately, her auto detect feature on YouTube is turned on, and if it's played in the background, she'll do a copyright claim on your video. And so I got a copyright claim from Meghan Trainor when they showed that the first time, and we were able to sort it out, and it's not an issue, but it's not a strike. But I did have to mute that section of the video. She doesn't make me pull down the video at all. So some people will do a copyright strike and claim the video and strike it down. She does not do that. So it's as far as copyright law goes, she's definitely in the right and has the right to do that. But the way she's structured her response on YouTube is it's probably through a million managers. Megan hates true crime. No, it's actually a very friendly approach. I'm grateful for people who set it up that way. She should and deserves the right to make money on her product, and she allows people who use it to use it without compensating her as long as she gets paid through YouTube. So.
Okay, members of the jury, I'm just cognizant of our time, cognizant that you haven't had a break in a while. I know we're a little early for lunch, but instead of taking a break short and then go to lunch, why don't we just take an early lunch before we get into the next subject of the direct examination? So let's call it, I could have the jury ready to go back at 12:45. 12:45. Okay, do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not do any investigation and receive no information. And I'll see you back after lunch.
Okay, we've got one of our members in court, might be visible even on the screen, not sure. Amber, when actually getting a content strike is a very bad thing for a channel. You get 3 strikes and YouTube says, we are not going to play ball with you anymore, period. So you've got to be very, very careful with content you're using and make sure you're doing it legally. Sunshine Sunflower says, hello, Recovery Addict and friends. Hope all are well. Thank you. 6 months.
Plaintiff defense, do you think
courthouse.
we're going to need some time after we come back from lunch, but before the jury? I'm just trying to decide what time we need to come back.
I think we have one issue that might take 5 minutes.
5 minutes means 10 minutes.
Is this the famous 5 minutes that?
Yes. I don't think it's the famous 5 minutes. I think it's the real 5 minutes.
Can you advise us what it is?
Sure.
Sir?
Oh, right now?
Yes, please.
We filed a declaration last night of Dr. Kirkpatrick regarding 934 recordings. Just want to discuss that with the court.
That sounds like more than 5 minutes.
That's more than 5 minutes.
It's
So
definitely more than 5 minutes. Sir.
we will be back at 12:30, which gives
15
everybody
minutes.
about an hour and 6 minutes for lunch. So I will see everybody back at 11:30.
Judge.
Sorry, 12:30.
If I might, that issue may take more than 10 minutes. I'm just wondering if maybe that can wait till after the jury is through today.
Well, I don't know what the issue is, so I've got about 15 minutes time between the time we come back and the time the jury comes back. Okay, so 12:30.
Okay, so the jury is going to be, I think the jury will be late. I think that'll take more than 15 minutes. We'll get into that word, and we'll get into that issue right now, but we'll get into that after lunch. We've got a lot of people, more people in the gallery than we've ever seen in court today. And we also know that there's another courtroom opened up for an overflow for this section. So we've got one of our own there who's watching. I'm not sure if we can pick her out on camera or not. All right, Joey, thanks for clicking the subscribe button. We call that admitting to being an addict, a true crime addict. Welcome to the group. Once you're joined, you can never leave. Good to have you here. Let's see. Let's go here. We're done with court for a little bit, so let's see. Any guesses on the judge's meeting? No, I think it's probably unrelated, or I mean, it's probably a professional meeting, but it's unrelated to this case. Let's see. Yellowstone, loved it. I worked up there in 1978 when President Carter came there. Doty. I took my family to Yellowstone. It's funny. We took the kids. We actually stayed in Island Park, which is in Idaho, on the Idaho side of Yellowstone, down south a little bit. Beautiful area. It's famous for its snowmobiling cabins, beautiful water. We went on like a boat float, like a river float, which you can do on your own. You don't need a guide because there are no rapids or anything. We were floating down the river, and we floated down one stretch where there's an island in the middle. You can choose the side. We chose poorly, and there was a huge moose in the river ahead of us. So I had to jump out and drag the boat back up and then take the other arm down the other way because you don't want to mess with a moose. Nope. No. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. My kids, we went to Yellowstone. They probably hated it. Their favorite memory from the trip to Yellowstone was staying in a cabin that had an arcade machine where they got to play games all day. And so it was a little frustrating. They might have been a little too young to enjoy the natural beauty of Yellowstone. All right, we have a lot in our gallery. 2K, yes, we do. It's a lot of fun here. We're going to come back. We're going to have a lunch break. We're going to come back and follow this as well. We're live following this throughout the day. This is probably one of the most important days testimony-wise, and especially how the defense handles Maya. We believe that later on today, that defense is going to get some cross-examination time in with Maya, and how they handle that. It's going to be Mr. Shapiro, first of all, and he can be fairly direct, fairly forceful, and that could be a very telling indicator of how they're feeling. Today, this morning, defense lost a lot of the objections about evidence, about what was being allowed in, and so we're seeing quite a bit of evidence, photographs, records that are pro-plaintiff and make the hospital look really bad, and some days it goes the other way. All right. Let's see, Yellowstone, here we go. Comments not on screen. I apologize for that. Have they been off this whole time? Have they been off this whole time? That we've had super chats, we've had super stickers, quite a few messages, like this one here from Sunshine Sunflowers. Have I had them all off this whole time? I am sorry. DSN, thank you very much for the super sticker, if I missed that as well. Let's see, we had Weather Watch, 9 months. I'm here, but I'm not here. Happy Monday. Work calls. So happy Monday to your family as well, Weather Watch. That's awesome. Let's see. Who else did I miss? I know there were more. Up to about 650 objections is where we're at. Anderson got a haircut. I did not notice that. I have not looked close enough. Judge says they're going to take an early lunch. He has a meeting.
I apologize.
Right. Now, that sound effect you hear, a couple people have asked me, even on on my burner phone, they said, "Who's the guy who's saying scratch that?" in the man's voice every time Mr. Anderson says strike that.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.
That's me hitting a sound effect, and it's just something I'm making light of a situation that's very very serious. Hopefully, it's not taken too poorly, but we're just pointing out that he gets halfway through his questions a lot and then backs up and starts again. He has done a lot better today than he's done previous days. Initially, his first day of questioning Jack on the stand, I thought was terrible. I really, really did not like Mr. Anderson's style. There have been times where he's done a lot better. Today is probably one of his best days in questioning that we've seen. Still has some issues, but he's done better today than any previous day that we've seen so far. Did I know that Chanley Painter was Miss Arkansas in 2009? That's awesome. Congratulations to her. That's really cool. Lunchtime equals nap time. I tell you, lunchtime has to equal food for me because all I've had this morning has 2 mugs of hot chocolate. I'm like jittery, shaky, so I need some food really fast. Let's see. Do we know about the Facebook issue yet? That has not come up in detail. That is still going to be addressed, I think, probably within the next 24 to 48 hours in the court. We're going to hear that. We heard that it will be early this week that it will be addressed, maybe even this evening. G'day, WA. Off to bed. It's late. Yes, I know. Western Australia. But cheers. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your day. Glad that we could catch up at least part of the day with you. Let's see. Listen as I'm working, says Joni. Didn't recognize Anderson. He got his ears lowered. Yes. Some have asked about this Facebook issue. Will explain that, what the judge said. I haven't heard that they've addressed it, other than that they were going to address it, and there was going to be some sort of instruction given regarding the Facebook issue. The Facebook issue, to my understanding, is Mr. Shapiro's wife posting on Facebook things that she probably should not have been posting on Facebook about the case, that she probably found out from Mr. Shapiro. Let's see, anything else? I missed 2 objections. We're up to 652. Okay, we'll have that. Thank you, Janet. Thanks for keeping me on my toes on that one. I need you guys to help me count. There's so many, and I know I've missed more than that, but we're trying to keep it as accurate as we can. Does anyone know when the next season of Yellowstone is coming out? Says Epic Exposure. I do not know that one. That's the one with what's his name? Big famous guy, the main cowboy dude. Yeah. Yellowstone whiskey is somewhere most popular. Anything else? CJ's mom just found out you're covering Maya. Yeah, we try to be nicer here. We did have a few trolls that popped in early with whack-a-mole, and unfortunately the best way to limit the whack-a-mole troll issue is by turning on slow mode. So I apologize for that. It frustrates them because they have to wait, and they're not very patient because they like to spam. So that's how we solve the whack-a-mole issue. What's the hot chocolate? The hot chocolate is, let me see if I can pull it up for you. Steven's hot chocolate is my absolute favorite. But I'm shaking. That's all I've had today. Let me pull up a link, and I'll tell you this hot chocolate is. I'll send you the link for Amazon, but it's let's see, 16-ounce pack of 3. Oh, the milk chocolate's probably the best. Let's do that one. Okay. Here we go. So this is my absolute and Mrs. R.A.'s favorite hot chocolate ever. And I just posted the link in chat. It's way too expensive on Amazon. If that's the only way you can get it, I recommend buying it. It's worth it that way. But most stores, a lot of stores, even some Walmarts, some Food Lions, all across the nation, Smith's, Kroger's, Associated Foods, almost everybody is carrying it now because the secret's out basically. So anyway, they carry it. So if you can find it at a local grocery store, it's a lot cheaper than buying on Amazon. But if that's the only way you can get it and you want to try it, I recommend doing that. Go eat before you pass out. I will. And just Kevin Costner. Man, Kevin Costner. He's the guy. The Dances with Wolves dude. Everyone's wearing pink. They're all there supporting Maya. Do we know when Sarah Boone is appearing next? December 11th? Is that right? It's in December, and that's trial is what we have scheduled for her. It should go to trial in December. Okay. Mr. Mann says, I'm not convinced about the merits of this lawsuit myself. That's fair. The jury is in that same boat. They have to weigh these things as well. So let's see. There's caffeine and hot chocolate. I think my heart's racing. Let's do a quick little check here. What is going on? Let me trigger my my EKG. We'll run a little 2-lead EKG. Holy cow. Okay. Says I'm doing 83 beats per minute. I'll have to show you the printout here. 15 more seconds to get my EKG done. Drink a bunch of water. Did some Koberger info come out? Ivan, I'm going to have to check on KB. Or Brian Koberger, BK. Oh, I don't know. I did that backwards. Okay. It says sinus rhythm does not show signs of atrial fibrillation. So I think I'm good. I'm just 83 beats per minute, just sitting here, relaxed. The brand, Daisy, is Stevens Hot Cocoa. And I'll put the link here one more time. Daisy, it's right there. I just put it in chat right here. Oops, this is it. That's the link to the brand if you want to see it. And then look for it in your local grocery store. It's delicious. No, they don't sponsor me. I just really like them. What time we're coming back? We're coming back in 45 minutes. So we'll be 15 minutes before they come back. Yeah, and I have occasionally my heart rate will go over 100 and sometimes as high as 105 without any indication, without any reason. It just does that. BK equals Burger King. Oh, the Pickles brand, that I get mine at Walmart, the spicy maple bourbon pickles, and they are Sam's Choice is the brand, which is a Walmart label, but it's top shelf pickles. They're really good. Grace, her mom actually, Beata, that's who we're talking about when we talk about Maya's mom. Her mom actually took her own life during the course of these events, and that is actually part of this trial. That her mom took her life because she felt that that was the only way the hospital would treat Maya, because they were saying that she was the one that was causing Maya's illness. But very, very, very sad. The hot chocolate drink is unavailable on Amazon at the moment. Well, let's see. I think there's different sizes you can get. Let's see. Well, there's only one left in stock here. So this is a different size right there of a different one. You can look around, and Stevens Gourmet Hot Cocoa has like a billion different flavors. Like sometimes you can get candy cane flavor and dark chocolate, milk chocolate, mint truffle, you name it. So you just search for Stevens Gourmet Hot Cocoa, and then there's all the different flavors you can find, and they're really good. Okay, I need to go eat something before I either pass out or have a heart attack. One of the two. But we're going to be back for a very spicy afternoon as we have additional testimony from Maya. This is her first day in front of the jury, and she's done a great job so far, testifying all from memory, no recollection, no refreshing her memory has been needed. Her presentation has been just incredible. She really appears beyond her years of maturity before the jury, and just her style. She looks like she's done this before. She knows what she's doing. Obviously, they've gone over this and they've practiced this, and that's what anyone would do, and that's normal. But it's impressive so far. I think that's going to a really good day today for the plaintiffs. All right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again in about 45 minutes. What brand are your spicy maple bourbon pickles? Sam's Choice, Carol. Sam's Choice spicy maple bourbon pickles. We're coming back in 45 minutes, Dodie. 45 minutes from now, or 40 now, because we've stayed and kept talking. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you after lunch. Have a good one. First one in chat gets to win the internet. Could be you. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and then be first person in chat, and you could have the internet all for yourself for the rest of the day. Have a good one, guys. See you in a bit.
Is that correct?
Because he's the guy!
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.